You're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. Premier League is back. The Top 6 Show is here, and tonight we are sponsored by Golden Goals, and we'll be taking you through exactly what that is later on during the show. So scan the QR code on the screen now or click on the link in the description to get their application downloaded so you're ready to predict 6 scores for this weekend's returning Premier League action. We've got a brilliant panel for you with Egal, Kate, Patrick, Lewis is here, man like Mo and little Tom. Also go through some huge games this weekend. Chelsea take on Newcastle, Brentford, Arsenal in a London derby. Man United go and take on Everton after their big points deduction. And the big one, of course, Liverpool go to the Etihad. All of that being previewed and much, much more on the show tonight. But panel, I want to say good evening to all of you. How are you? You all well? You all good?
All good, bro.
Good.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all the American viewers and everybody that celebrate that around the world, of course, for all the Americans.
Yes, all the
Thanksgiving
Americans.
Day.
Hope your turkey's good and your yams and whatever else you're eating. For a lot of them, it's still pretty early in the day, I suppose. But yeah, have a great Thanksgiving if you are celebrating. I wanted to start because I always like to get Man United out of the way because it's often depressing, if I'm being honest with you. But there's talk that we could be, because of Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying us or buying 25% of us, if we finish below the league position that Nice finish, and at the moment they're second in the league, Man United will be banned from the Champions League and Europa League next year should we to qualify. I mean, I'm just annoyed that how have we let someone buy into the club if it means we're going to be banned from European competition? It's crazy to me. I don't know what you all make of this.
What do you mean? I'm sorry. Like, how does that work? What does that have to do? Can you?
So essentially, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the owner of Nice.
Yes.
And under UEFA regulations, you cannot have 2 teams in the same competition that are owned by the same people. So the way it works is the team that finishes highest in their league is the one who gets the preference. So say Nice comes second, Man United to get in the Champions League would need to win the Premier League.
All right. So that will apply to Girona and Man City as well. If Man City don't win the league and Girona win the league in Spain, Man City will not play in the Champions League as well. That's kind of crazy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I've looked at the ownership of them as a Spanish club, and it is different owners. It's connected,
right.
but it's different owners. But I haven't seen it for them. But I mean, do you guys think that's fair? That's a rule, or do you think that's detrimental?
Well,
what are we saying?
I think it's fair because ultimately, you don't want a situation where you've got an owner in control of 2 clubs. And you've got to protect the competition. And if the 2 teams were to face each other, you don't want any sort of situation where you know what I mean. You want to lose this game, mate, because we want the other team to proceed. So it's right that it is a rule. Whether or not it will apply to Man United, I'm pretty sure these guys are not stupid, right? I'm pretty sure they know what's they're going to have this sort of sorted, just like City do. So I would be surprised if United actually got banned from the competition. I don't think that's going to happen. But I just don't think it's going to happen because I don't think this guy's going to buy 25% of Man United, spend all that money, and then not know about this rule. But the rule is correct. The rule is correct, Terry. I mean, it has to, you understand why it's there. It's to protect the competition. But I don't think United will get banned. I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to make this.
You've obviously, I agree. Like the way I saw this article headlined and written today was UEFA sources confirm that if he gets 25%, they have to finish above Nice or they'll be banned. And then I'm sitting there and thinking, well, I know that they structure it the way they structure it, but this could happen to City in the case Mo brought up. I've definitely seen both of the RB clubs in the Champions League at the same time. It would just be how you word the structuring and the ownership. You know how like a lot of local businesses, you think who the owner is, but it's his cousin brother that's the owner on paper for one reason or another. I'm sure they'll do something along those lines.
I think it's almost... Terry,
Sorry?
I think it's fear mongering. I think they do these things to just potentially stop people from having multi-club ownership of one individual party. They're just trying to maybe slow down people from doing what Todd Bowley and his group have done with Strasbourg, for example. They don't want too many people having too many ownership of certain clubs. Maybe that's what they want. But I don't think anything's gonna happen to you. I personally think if this is written in writing, like officially, you can't have an owner have two clubs in the same competition.
It is a rule, but this is how I think they'll work around it. I agree with Lewis. So my view would be Ineos Limited, I'm making these names up here, own Nice. But then a subsidiary of Ineos Incorporated, which is a different company, becomes a 25% owner of Man United. Now, it'd be a little bit more complex than that, but in reality, that is two different entities and two different businesses. For instance, I own 3 companies, even though they're all connected in one way, shape, or form, but by law, they're all 3 of them are different businesses. That's all they've got to do to get around this. It'll be a little bit more complex, but yeah, I agree with you. I agree with Lewis as well. I think it has to be a rule. But the way this article I saw written today, yeah, I felt the same, just kind of scaremongering. There's always problems at Man United. And can you imagine spending £1.3 billion buying into a club and then seeing it banned from the Champions League because of that purchase? I'm not saying Man United's owners are the greatest, but are they that dumb? Really? I don't know.
But Terry, I'm looking at the timing of this
more
news.
dodgy. Like the way I looking at it from the outside in, this way is more dodgy because you're going to have owners more deliberately trying to control. So let's say they own a English club, a Spanish club, and a Italian club, and then the English club is third, the Italian club's second, and the Spanish club's fourth. But they want the English club in the Champions League because it's going to get the most money, etc. That is going to cause more issues because then they'll start. There's the potential they start trying to tank with another team, and try and affect that team, which is going to affect league positions more so than anything. So I get why the rule's there, but as we enter into a new phase of football where multi-club ownership is becoming a more and more increasing thing, that rule is going to be amended to, and it's going to be a very interesting way to see how they deal with it. Because, like you said, there's no way Jim Ratcliffe's going to spend that much money and be told, no, you can't play in the Champions League because you own 2 clubs. And even if that, it's not going to affect us this year because you're not going to get Champions League, but what's it going to mean for the people like me?
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Why Man United worried about the Champions League this year? Next year, worry about it.
And I don't get why it should affect you if you're in the. Let's say you finished in the Europa League, would you be allowed in the Europa League, or is that not allowed?
The article says the article I read says Champions League and Europa. So
so it says,
League, here we go.
I've got it here, Terry. That's what it says. It says, obviously, because if one team goes into the Champions League and one into the Europa League, then the Champions League could drop in. It says the only way they don't even have to do anything is if one qualifies for the Champions League and the other qualifies for the Conference League, because then they can't meet. It also says if they both qualify for the Champions League, then Ineos, I would imagine, will have to speak to the club financial control body of UEFA, who open proceedings against the clubs. And then it's up to the clubs to prove to UEFA that there is no sort of clash or there's nothing. So it seems a bit messy, but listen.
But my only issue with it is, again, and maybe it is because of the way your ownership and what's the name of the Spanish club you own?
Girona.
I nearly said Granola. Girona.
You're hungry.
I just haven't seen articles saying the same thing. Maybe there have been, and I've missed them as an example, but. Yeah, it's one of those things.
That's because, Terry, they was never ever in the conversation for qualifying for European competition. I mean, I think
might
there was
in La Liga.
Well, this is the thing. I think there was in the 2nd division a few years ago, which is last year they finished 10th. The year before that they got relegated. So it's a bit of a madness. So I think everyone is a little bit shocked and surprised that Girona are currently top of the league. Which
it's about the owners.
Why didn't they write this article about Man City?
Like the owners of Man City are very smart. They wouldn't do that. Look at how they're running Manchester City, cooking the books and doing all the stuff that is happening behind the scenes.
Excuse me. Alleged.
They won't be able.
Allegedly.
Allegedly cooking the book. So they won't be able. I think they wouldn't fall for it. I think Man City owners are smart enough to actually have different ownership of both clubs.
I'm saying,
if you're able to do all of this and get the club where it is now. Come on, they're not gonna fall for this, man.
But Mo, don't you think the international break's boring? Why didn't they write this article about Man City? They did it about Manchester United because really and truly, they didn't have much else to talk about during the transfer window. Similar to how they brought up the Tottenham thing with the Jermaine Defoe and all this stuff with Chelsea and stuff. They're just bored and they don't have transfers to talk about. So they're trying to find as many other scandals that they can talk about to make it fun.
I think let's establish something. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not an idiot, right? He's a billionaire. They're not going to just register both clubs under his name. It's not going to say Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah.
Like, he's not an idiot. Come on. They know the rules. They read the books. They know everything that is happening. RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg has been in the Champions League every year, probably for the last 3-4 years, and they haven't been hit with anything. I think Man United shouldn't be worried about it. But again, I don't think he's going to spend, as Terry said, that much money and then risk not being in the Champions League or the Europa League. That would be stupid, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. On the football regarding Man United, I did want to ask a question to the panel. What to do about the problem of Mason Mount? There's talks coming out that there's frustrations that I know he had a little injury, but he's been stop-start. And there's a lot of feeling amongst Man United fans around what's the plan for this player. You spent 55 million on him. He's starting most games on the bench. Is this somebody now that Man United fans should be expecting to see a plan for and for him to get some regular game time in weeks to come? Because you spend 55 million on him, you expect there to be a plan, not someone like McTominay starting week in, week out, who you tried to sell in the summer. Kate, can you understand why Man United fans are feeling really frustrated about this deal, and the player himself is somewhat confused about his lack of game time?
Yeah, of course. Tottenham fans feed it about Richarlison. We pay 60 million for him, or 50 million plus add-ons, and he's useless. But from what I've seen in Mason Mount at Man United, it just doesn't fit in. It just looks like it just doesn't fit into the team at all. He was a standout player for me at Chelsea. I still can't believe they sold him. I don't know why they did, but I still can't believe they sold him. But yeah, I mean, if I was a Man United fan, I'd be pulling my hair out, quite literally, because I just don't see him working under this manager. But what do you do? Do you like put your hands up and say we made a mistake and sell him on? Do you persist with him? You can't just leave him sat on the bench when you've spent that much money on him.
Well, this is Ten Hag's fault again, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it all comes down to Ten Hag, man. Like, that's just a fact. It is. He's bought this guy, and he's not working. That's his fault. He bought Anthony. He's not working. His fault. He's fallen out with Sancho. He's fallen out with Ronaldo. He's fallen out with Varane. Yet people are just like, I feel like some United fans are just so oblivious to what's actually, when you actually just deep it, that is horrendous. He's only been there 18 months. He's fallen out with half the squad. He signed a lot of players that don't work and spent best part of 400, 500 million on a lot of players. You know, even the good ones are like in the 30s. You know what I mean? I think that this, again, to me, I like Mount. I think he's a decent player. They overpaid for him, yeah, and they don't know where to play him. And that's Ten Hag's fault. So I can't, if I was a United fan, I would not be blaming Mount. My anger and frustration would be at Ten Hag.
Bro, he's spitting. I think, Terry, it's going to be a situation where you're not only going to be looking at Mason Mount, you're going to be looking at a whole overhaul for your team. Just after a year where you thought you could push on and challenge, it might be a situation where you're going to be looking at a whole new rebuild and to try to get actual players that can play to the style that you want. Or it's going to be a situation where the manager is going to go and you're going to have a new person coming in to reevaluate which players are going to stay and which players are going to go. I don't think you're going to have a decision on Mason Mount this season. I think you're going to have a decision on the direction the club's going in a totality before you have a decision just on Mason Mount.
What is Mason Mount? Why was he bought for? Like, what's the reason? Now, like, I keep asking myself, are you going to play counter-attacking football, position-based football? Where does Mason Mount fit? Why would you spend that much money on him? I actually echo what LB said. Mason Mount is not a bad player, but he just bought for a bad team that doesn't suit him. And I don't know, like, Man United fans are upset with Mason Mount. That, like, the guy's not even playing. Like, you be upset with Anthony, who is playing and not performing. Mason Mount isn't even playing to be performing good or bad. Like, when he plays and perform bad, you get to be upset with him. Why are people? I see a lot of people upset with Mason Mount. I'm like, why are you upset with Mason Mount? The guy didn't do anything bad.
Man United fans have a habit of doing this. We know he isn't good enough, or we know he isn't playing well enough, but we always focus on that. And I agree with LB. The manager has picked these players. Firstly, I don't think managers should have carte blanche over picking who comes in. Doesn't happen at Liverpool. Doesn't happen at City. And I know that because Pep's come out and said it himself, that this, when he's thanked the people that have found him players and scouted them and helped bring them into the football club. Of course, he has a say in it, but you need that structure. But the manager has made. I mean, Amrabat's also out the team at the moment. He's fallen out with Varane. Maguire and McTominay are starting. He was trying to sell them both in the summer. This is a managerial issue. With that element of it is now how he's been in that position, given that much power, is a different conversation. But I agree, there are a lot of Man United fans who are burying their head in the sand when it comes to the situation with Erik ten Hag, and Mason Mount is almost symbolic of that. You spend 55 million on him, and every time he's played in numerous positions, there doesn't seem to be a fixed idea for what you want him to do, and it's a mess. And I feel a little bit sorry for the player because he's coming with a lot of pressure because his final season at Chelsea was poor. There was the contract issues. So you've got a whole fan base of Chelsea baying for his blood anyway. He then comes in with no fixed situation. There's multiple other problems going on, and it's a mess. And I think ahead of our game against Everton this weekend, Everton have got the fine. Sorry, the points deduction. They feel the whole world's against them. We're an absolute mess. It feels to me, and this is just as a United fan, typical that when all this happens, we have to get I'd actually rather go to Anfield this weekend than Goodison Park. That's how I feel right. Maybe not. They beat us 7-0 last year. But I'd rather go away to most grounds in the country than Goodison Park this weekend because it's going to be absolutely horrible. But I agree with you, LB. Like, I see a lot of people tweeting about it today, attacking the player. And I think to myself, it's not Mason Mount's fault. He's been bought and put into a situation where there's no plan for him. He's got a specific skill set that we're not trying to utilize. And by the way, we're doing that with a number of players in our team. And we have done at Man United for a decade. We're always playing people in the wrong positions. And it's why so many of them leave and look exponentially better elsewhere. It's annoying for me. And yeah, on the Everton game, a lot of people in the comments are asking me how I think it's going to go.
You're dropping
Thank
points.
Thank God it isn't part of Golden Goals this week. Because if it was part of Golden Goals, I'd have to be putting it against my team. I think we'll lose 2-1. At Goodison Park this weekend. I really do think so. I'm glad I haven't got to put that into my golden goal predictions because I don't like predicting Man United to lose, but I think we will this weekend, and I think we'll not get battered scoreline wise because they're not that good, Everton, but I think they'll batter us in terms of play. I really do.
They're going to be so galvanized, Terry. It's going to be the worst place to go to for now until the end of the year, probably, because of how the fans are just going to be getting behind the team. And I'm just happy my team's already gone to Everton away. We don't have to worry about that anymore because everyone who plays Everton this season, especially away, that Everton fan base is going to be backing them 110%.
You're going to get bullied off that at Goodison Park. You're going to get absolutely bullied off it. They bully you at the best of times anyway, even if, this whole situation had happened because they've just got players who want it more than you. The United squad just seems in disarray. I understand that United fans want to see Mason Mount start, but the one player you can't exactly drop is Scott McTominay because if you drop Scott McTominay, who is your goal scorer? You've got no one. You actually have to play him. So you're gonna have to figure out a spot for Mount there. If it was me, I'd be playing him on the right wing or moving Fernandes out to the right wing because you cannot keep persisting with Anthony out there. When it comes to Everton, Onana, Doucouré, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Calvert-Lewin, Beto, all these Tarkowski, Branthwaite, all them players are going to physically bully your players because they want it more because they've got that bee in their bonnet that it's everyone against Everton. That will just set them off. That'll set the fans off, and your team crumbles at the best of times. And Goodison can get very hostile very quickly. If they have a good enough start in that game, that could turn real bad real quick for United because your players, they just don't have that mentality this season. And
Tom just said that if you don't play Scott McTominay, who's your goal scorer? Manchester United 2023.
Well, mate, this is the thing. I've seen a few people in the comments, and I respect them all. They're my viewers. I love them to bits. But I'm not siding with rivals against my club. I'm speaking the truth as I see it. And look, I'm excited about the potential of the new ownership regime improving us in the medium term. I am. But I don't believe this manager is going to be able to do it. I think he's lost too many players in the dressing room. And one story over the international break that maybe makes sense is there's talks that he's worked them too hard in training, too many drills, too many runs, too much fitness work, and the players feel exhausted. And there is a fine balance between being super fit and being exhausted. Now, look at how we've been playing this year and the lack of energy and effort. And maybe that's it. Look, that could be an excuse from these players. It absolutely could be. But there's got to be a reason why the players of last year were fighting their backsides off for him, and suddenly they look like they couldn't care less. And it isn't like anything's been reported to have happened in the summer that's made everybody fall. I got it with Jose because you had Martial in summer of 2018, Martial going off to the birth of his child and Jose slagging him off for it. You had the World Cup that summer and Jose was in TV studio slagging off Paul Pogba. I understood why the squad was frustrated with him. But yeah, it's going to be a mad one for me. But viewers, let me know what you think the score in the Manchester United game is going to be. Please make sure like buttons have been hit as well. And if you haven't done so already and you want to join in with us later for golden goals, make sure you get the app downloaded now. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in our description below. Terms and conditions do apply, but we'll go through that all in full detail later in the show. There's another big game this weekend, though. I want to go to Patrick first on this. I've not heard much from you yet, mate. Chelsea go away to Newcastle. How do you see this one going? Do you think Chelsea are going to maintain some of the qualities we saw against City? Newcastle have got injury problems. How do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, this is a tough one. There's a lot of tricky fixtures this weekend where you can't really call them. And this is one where going off current form, Chelsea, I'd probably back Chelsea over Newcastle. If everyone was fit and it was, the best 11 for the best 11, I would go with Newcastle. But Newcastle are ravaged with injuries. Chelsea are in good form and they do play better against the better teams. Teams that will come out and play like Newcastle will. It kind of opens up the game for Chelsea. So I think Chelsea will nick it. I've predicted 2-1 in the golden goals section for Chelsea. I just think that they're kind of picked them off at the moment. You saw Trippier against the fans the other day saying, "Oh, look at our team. We've got injuries. We're giving our all." And I think a few more guys got injured on the international break. So, yeah, man, I think Chelsea will win this one.
I agree with him. Of course, I agree with him. Chelsea, they are going to do the same thing. Away at Newcastle, they're going to sit a little bit deeper. They try to hit them on the transition. Newcastle, of course, with some of their players coming back from international to Joelinton, Bruno Guimaraes as well, that will affect them as well. And I think if Chelsea win this game, I think they prove to everybody that, yeah, we are on the right track. And Newcastle, by the way, if Newcastle lose this game, and I said that the other day, if Newcastle lose this game, I think the fans are going to go mad. If Newcastle don't win this game, the fans are going to go mad. And I think with the voting that happened about the loans, I think in January, they might go crazy and start asking to loan players from the Saudi League because the fans did not expect this downfall of Newcastle. But I see Chelsea winning this game on the transition. Cole Palmer, Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling now is on fire because he wasn't even picked for the England national team. I think he's going to have to prove something to Southgate again, right? And I think this Chelsea team now have clicked together, and I think it's Nkunku might be back for the game, and I think this is even on the bench, and I think this will absolutely put fire in their belly, and I think Chelsea will win this game. They will play better.
I agree. I think they will as well.
Disagree though.
Oh, go on.
I disagree with the two guys. The reason being, Chelsea have shown when they face teams that are resolute and set up good defensive shapes against them, they struggle to break them down. When they play a much more expansive, open game, that's where they get the goals. And this is going to be a very physical game against Newcastle. Even with the players out, even with their injuries, I still see this being a very physical battle for inexperienced and young Chelsea side. The reason why they were doing well in the last couple of games, even though they're facing bigger teams, there was a 9 men, they were playing at home, and it was much more expansive games. This game where you're going to have a Newcastle team playing a resolute defensive shape and trying to bully them in the midfield and catch them on the counter, I do believe if Newcastle get a goal, they have the defense where they can hold on to it, and I don't think Chelsea can break them down if Newcastle set up the right defensive shape. And that is still their weakness. Their weakness is that low block and that good defensive shape. So I'm not hating on Chelsea here. I'm thinking it's going to be a close game, but I do think that 1 goal lead could just be it for them. And I don't think they're going to be able to catch up.
I see what you're saying, but I could say the opposite about Chelsea. If Chelsea get the first goal, this is a game that Newcastle really kind of need to win. If Newcastle get beat, obviously, it's Tottenham versus Villa at the weekend as well. They could potentially find themselves 9 points off the Champions League spot. They're not in a good position at the moment, Newcastle. So yeah, I agree what you're saying. If they do go 1-0 up, then obviously that gives them a big advantage. But if Chelsea go 1-0 up, Newcastle are not just going to be able to sit there, you know what I mean, and be in this mad defensive shape. Like you said, they're going to have to press. They're going to have to take it to Chelsea. So I think what we could potentially conclude from this, as you can conclude from most games, but in this one in particular, the first goal is obviously going to be absolutely crucial. for both teams. But Newcastle need to get some wins, man, because they're falling away from that Champions League, and like I say, could be 9 points behind by the end of the weekend.
But then they win.
Can I add something to what you say, Egal? Just I think there's a
Yeah,
false notion. It's just as simple. I think there's a false notion that Newcastle sit back and defend against teams. Newcastle at home don't do that. People just have this false notion that Newcastle are a team that sit back. Against Liverpool, 11-11, Newcastle had 64% possession. Liverpool tried to keep the ball. Newcastle wouldn't let them. Newcastle at home, they press high. Newcastle, they play on the front foot. They just don't sit back. And I think they will look at this Chelsea team and say, we're at home. We are better than Chelsea. We're going to try to press. And this is where Chelsea come good. Chelsea come good against teams that press. So if this was a way at Chelsea will. I will agree with you. I'd say yes. Chelsea might have the position, and it will be hard to break this Newcastle defense. Newcastle won't do that.
Okay, Mo. This is all I'm saying. If you give Newcastle something to hold on to, they are one of the best teams to hold on to that lead. And I do believe against Chelsea, they're going to play a different tactic. They're still going to respect Chelsea. They're not going to look at Chelsea as they would look at Bournemouth or Brentford or something like that. They're going to look at them as a team with talented players that can hurt them. So they're going to play them respectfully. It's not going to be a situation where they're going to come into this game thinking they're going to play expansive football from minute one, especially with their injuries to their attack, their midfield, and some of their best defenders out. They're going to have to find a way to change their style of play to win this game. And that's what they did against Arsenal. They got that lead, they held on to it, they shut up shop, and they played very deep. And I do believe against Chelsea's going to have majority of the possession. Newcastle's not going to have much of the ball. And they're gonna play for that first goal, whatever it is, set piece or whatever they get, however they can get it, and just shut up shop for the rest of the game. And don't forget, this is still one of the best defenses in the league for the past 2 calendar seasons.
I think
if they played against you, Egal, they played against you, they had 50-50 ball position, Egal, before they scored.
I get that.
Again, you're saying
my point was once they got the goal, the game changed. They didn't play for the game. They didn't play anymore.
So you're assuming that they're gonna get the first goal. You're just assuming that here.
No, I'm not assuming. I'm saying I know Chelsea, and they've struggled to break team down. So if Newcastle do get anything from this game early, it's game over for Chelsea because they can't get back into games that are when the team is playing a good defensive shape. Once the team is playing an expansive style of football, Chelsea can always find a way back in. But they haven't shown that they can actually break down a team that's going to play a deep block this season.
But Newcastle are not going to play a deep block, though. That's the whole point.
I keep saying that.
Yeah, Newcastle are not at home. Their fans, I mean, they don't play that style anyway, and their fans are not going to let them just sit back and soak up pressure. They're going to play and try and win the game. That's what they play anyway.
Against Arsenal at home, they did that. Yeah. Against Arsenal at home, they tried to attack. Against Liverpool, do you think they hold Chelsea higher than Arsenal and Liverpool? Of course not.
I think what's got to be considered as well is you've got to... Considering Newcastle's situation, the amount of injuries they've got, and the fact that midweek is a massive Champions League game for them because of the position they're in the group, that Eddie Howe is going to have to make a decision in which game he values more. He's going to have to because he's not got the squad for both of them. So I wouldn't be shocked if, remember that lineup that he put out against United at Old Trafford in the Cup? I wouldn't be shocked if you saw elements of that lineup against Chelsea. That being said, though, I do believe that I put a lot of credit into St. James's Park Stadium. I think the injury situation, depending on who he puts out in certain positions, can be negated to a point. If he goes full strength defence and is able to just manage somehow to get either Gordon or Almiron on breaks, they might get something. But he's going to have to make a big decision as to whether he wants to focus on the league and getting back into top 4/top 5, whatever it is.
I don't think he can do that.
Or if he's going to go, right, I'll throw away this game. We try and get it later on in the season, but I've got to focus on Champions League right here, right now. Because they've got, I think it's Milan. It might be PSG, but it's PSG. It's PSG away.
Bro, I don't think he can do that, though, bro. I don't think he can look at it and go, oh, we need to prioritize. I mean, you're playing Chelsea and PSG, but you can prioritize either. You can still lose either of the games. I think he just has to take them both. Look, you've got a tough run coming up, yeah? Chelsea, PSG, Man United, Everton away. They got Spurs there as well. Then back to Milan for the final game. They've got a tough run. I don't think Newcastle are in the privileged position of looking at it, picking out games, or we'll win that one and just sort of. I don't think he can do that. I think they've just got to go one game at a time, field the best possible squad that he's got, and just try and get through it by hook or crook. It don't matter how they get through it. You know, a point isn't the end of the world if they get a point against Chelsea. So they need to be looking for wins, but I don't think he can do that, Tom. I don't think he's got that. I don't think they're in the position to do that.
I don't think he wants to, but I think he's got to, because the reason I believe anyway why in this situation is because of the past year and a half where he's went hell for leather and everything. But I don't think that squad has rotated as much as it's been made out to be. You've seen likes of Murphy get involved, but he's now injured. All these injuries that they've picked up, they're not, barring a couple of them, they're not contact injuries, they're muscle injuries, they're fatigue-related injuries. And that squad, as it plays now, a lot of these players aren't exactly coming back soon. It'll be late December, early January. So they've got to go through the most hectic period of the football year in England with a bare-thin squad. I think he's got to, otherwise there's a real chance if he goes hell for leather and another player gets injured and another, let's say Bruno picks up a hamstring injury or Gordon picks up a knock, they could be going into these games, let's say against you said they got Tottenham at some point. They could go to Tottenham with a front three that has 18-year-olds or
Yeah,
Matt
but Tom, you
Ritchie.
can't do that, bro. You can't rest your team against Chelsea.
Yeah,
So
you
basically,
can't.
potentially accepting an L, and then be so arrogant as to go to PSG and go, right, now we'll play our full strength squad and try and get the win there. Because even if Newcastle played the full strength squad at PSG, they could still get beat. And then you just lost 2 games, and one of them you didn't even play. They can't do that, Tom. They
They
can't.
will
Because
most likely
they're
get
playing
beat.
to win
They
both.
will most likely get beat against PSG away. Like, come on, dude.
They're gonna play. They're
Yeah.
gonna play their best team against Chelsea, and they're gonna play whatever the best available players are for PSG. There's none of this resting stuff. Let's be honest. Eddie Howe's not built like that.
yeah. I agree. I want to ask a question. I've seen a few people say this on other platforms. Could Eddie Howe be sacked sort of soonish or this season? Do you think that he's under pressure? And the question, I suppose, is should he be under pressure after making the Champions League next year? If they go out early in the Champions League, if they fall 9, 12 points behind the top 4 position, should they be looking to sack Eddie Howe?
I think it's too early to be saying anything like that. He hasn't lost the dressing room. These players were the same players that were so galvanized that just beat PSG 4-1 earlier in the season. Like, I don't think there's no way I can see Eddie Howe getting sacked after losing to Chelsea or potentially getting knocked out of the Champions League. I think that at least give him until the end of the cup run. He could potentially win. He could potentially be the first manager to win them a cup in how many years? So I don't think they're going to just get rid of him that quickly. There is a level of loyalty to Eddie Howe. I feel like based on
Also,
how,
I agree with Egal here. I don't think it is a manager that will, even if they're 10 points behind the top 4 and they're already out of the Champions, I don't think there is a manager that will come in and guarantee you making top 4 with this squad with these injuries. So wait for him until the end of the season, see the assessment, and then go from there. But if they sack him in the middle of the season, I think it's a massive mistake. They might actually get worse, because I don't know how much worse. I don't see a manager coming in and using Jacob Murphy the way he uses Jacob Murphy or Willock or Joao Linton. I don't see anybody. I'm sorry. Like, this is a miracle what he's doing with these guys, with Jamal Lascelles and the rest of them. I don't see anybody else coming in and say, and the new manager that will come in will say, I don't want this. Give me new players. Who's going to accept the job as is? And I don't think they should sack him at all. And he shouldn't be under pressure.
Mo, I think they're in a position, right, where I think everyone kind of knew with Eddie Howe that there probably will come a time where he takes them as far as he can take them. And at that point, then you have to get another manager in, an elite level coach. Is that time now? No, I certainly don't think they should be sacking him in the middle of the season. But I do think that it's probable that there will come a time where Newcastle have to look at it and go, he's took us as far as he can take us, you know. And so maybe similar to some Arsenal fans think Arteta's took Arsenal as far as he can take them. They need to get an elite manager. Look, there's no guarantee that. Maybe Eddie Howe can break them all, but that's just the way the game goes. It is likely that at some point they'll have to replace him. But I wouldn't be doing it in the middle of the season. I think he's earned too much respect to be sacking him midway.
I think he's doing such a good job of building that squad. I think the thing that needs to be understood from this season and this situation that they're in is that squad isn't ready yet. It's not ready yet. So I don't see why you would want to... Eddie Howe has built the squad up from a position that it was in to the position it's in now, which when everyone's fit is a top 4 side, but they're not fit at the minute. So what I think, I just look at it and go, I don't think they should be considering sacking him for the next 18 months. Let him keep doing what he's been doing, which is building the squad up. So then when the next manager comes in, they don't have to worry about, I need to do massive overhauls here and here, because Eddie Howe's doing a very good job at building up the squad and rotating out the pieces that aren't good enough when he's used them, when they're at the best buy date sort of thing. Like, he's able to just get that transition done seamlessly, which is the toughest thing for a side that is trying to close the gap on top four, not jumping the gun, over investing, going too much change at once, and then it all falls apart because you lose cohesion and chemistry. Eddie Howe's doing it the right way. They just need to stick by it. I do agree, though, eventually it will get to the point, because I don't think Eddie Howe is ever going to be a manager who I'd trust in tactical battles in Champions League semi-finals. There will come a time when, if Newcastle want to take the next step, he'll have to go. But I don't see Newcastle being ready for that next step for another couple of years yet.
I totally listen. I agree. I know a lot of people don't like questions. I'm not asking a question because I endorse it. I've just seen a lot of people talk about it, and I look at City as a benchmark here. I think if they employed Pep a month after the Sheikh bought the club, he would have created a great team, but he wouldn't have created a team that got 100 points in his second season. It would have taken a lot longer for Pep to make his team as powerful and as dangerous as the Man City team are now. Not that much longer, but it would have taken longer. And I think that you almost have to build up to bringing in a world-class manager. You have to build the infrastructure, you have to build the squad, you have to build the standards. And I know some people have this view of you just got to have high standards from day one and achieve, but life doesn't actually, unless you've, the only people that I think really believe that from a Newcastle perspective are people that haven't had the life experience of building a business or building a sports team or you can't start the gym and on like week 2 start training like a professional bodybuilder. You are going to put yourself in hospital. You've got to build up to that kind of level. So I agree. I've just seen a lot of people. I know the international break leads to a lot of crazy opinions and takes, and I thought I'll ask it of the panel tonight and see what they say. We have a super chat here regarding this game. It's from a man like Don. Hope you're well, bro. He says we must, I think he means must win on Saturday. No excuses whatsoever. Hey, is this must win for Chelsea?
He always says that. He said that against Brentford. They lost.
I don't know if it's a must win. I think Newcastle come into the game more under pressure than Chelsea do, but I can't personally see anything but a Chelsea win. I think Newcastle have got Isak back, Shaw's back. I think they've got a few back that I saw on Twitter tonight. I don't know if it's 100% right, but even so, I think Chelsea are riding a bit of a wave at the minute. They look like they've got their mojo back, and I can't see anything other than Chelsea beating them. I don't think it'll be I think it'll be a close game, but I think Chelsea will nick it 2-1. But like I say, I think that all the pressure's on Newcastle this weekend rather than Chelsea. But
listen, I just want to say, Don has said must win for every single game.
Game one at Liverpool. Game one.
They said that every game. You guys remember?
They said we must win.
Yeah.
Big up, Don. Big up, Don, to be honest. Like,
Brentford at home. Brentford at home. He's like, we must win. And what do? They lose. And then the next couple games they do well. Personally, I don't think any game this season is a must-win for Chelsea at this moment in time. I don't think they're getting into top 4. I think the best they could do is probably get Europa League finish. So they're just gonna. This is going to be a transition year for them to get their players used to what Pochettino is doing and continue to build. They're very young side, it's very inexperienced. No one's going to say that they're finished or anywhere near the finished article this season. So to say must win, what are you expecting?
But Johnny Minerals would say must win because Chelsea have got they set their sights so
what are their expectations?
They don't want to accept that they've got to bear with this project. They want to win now.
No, but Kate, what are their expectations? They're not better than Tottenham. They're not better than Arsenal. They're not better than Man City. They're not better than Liverpool. At best, they're going to be what? 5th?
Here, I have a question for you, Gal. You saw them in the last 3-4 games. It's a genuine question. Do you think they can be better than Spurs, Villa, Man United, Newcastle, and Brighton?
I think
genuinely.
I think they're better set up to face the bigger teams, and against the smaller teams, they're going to struggle. Because it's not going to be, they're going to, when teams are set up to just shut down their attack, they're going to struggle to score. But against the top teams, they're ready to play the top teams, but they're not ready to play the rest of the league.
I disagree with that, Egal. I disagree with that completely, bro. I think that's fake news. I do.
What is it? Are you Donald Trump? What the hell?
I think it's fake news. I think it's fake news. The stats don't prove what you're saying. I think they've won 12 out of...
The stats fully prove what I'm saying. Their best games has been against Liverpool.
No, they don't. How many games they played?
And Tottenham.
Hang on, they beat Burnley 4-1.
They've played 12 games.
Yeah, Burnley plays expensive football, Terry.
On Egal, you like XG on that?
I'm not looking at XG. I'm just looking at what I've seen.
I'm asking you, do you like XG though? Do you like it? Do you think it's a good stat?
I don't really care for it.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Yeah, they've won every single game on XG this season, so that it proves that
you
they are creating chances. That they're out creating their opposition.
I have been saying Chelsea have been playing good. I just said that they struggle to score goals.
I think,
when
yeah, but I
teams
think you're
set up
well
defense
overplaying
against
that,
them.
bro. I think you're well overplaying that. I think
It's a
you're well
fact, bro.
overplaying it. I
Chelsea
think
have
their
been
main
struggling
issue
to
is
score
that they don't
goals
have a
for years.
striker who can properly score goals. And Jackson's come alive, but he's still not a proper striker. That's their problem. That they need to, you know, and Sterling's not the most clinical player in the world either. That's their problem, that they don't have a proper striker who can put the ball in the back of the net. Maybe when Nkunku comes in, they might start cooking. I think you're well overplaying it. I think
I
you're
think
well
Egal, what Egal is saying is that
they've-
they haven't won a game. Let me just. They haven't won the games what they should have won. Like against Forest, they have 70% chances, 70% position. Against West Ham, they had 74% position.
Yes, and that's
what Egal is
true.
saying.
But that's true, but you've also got to look at recent form. In their last 5 games in the Premier League, they've scored 14 goals. Like they're
But who did they score
starting.
those against, Terry?
Okay, so they scored 4 against Burnley, 2 against Arsenal, 4 against Tottenham, and 4 against Manchester City.
All teams that play more attacking football.
But this is the point I think you're missing on this, though. Against those other teams, the Nottingham Forest of this world, the Bournemouths, they had the chances but missed. So it wasn't. No, but okay, but no. Your point is Gal. You said they struggle to break down low blocks. Struggling to break down low blocks is not creating the chances. They create them, they miss them.
They miss them.
They're now starting to put the ball in the back of the net. So therefore, if you start scoring goals and you're still creating at the same level, there's no longer a problem. Well, there's still going to be little problems, but you are circumventing a major issue at the club.
They have a finishing problem. My bad. It's not creation. I've never said if I made the mistake of saying creation, that's not what I meant. I meant they have an issue finishing their dinner against the smaller teams because they play a way of football where they give them when they do create the chances. They're under pressure because they have way more defenders around them smothering them. Where in these games against teams that are playing more expensive football, they have much more space and time.
But I just think that finishing problem's a general problem overall. I don't think they suddenly become fantastic elite finishers against City, and then when it comes to a Forest, they all of a sudden. I just think
chances.
No, but they still create good chances. They just all these games that you're on about were earlier on the season. I believe that they turned a major corner.
Bro, they just lost 1-0 to Brentford before they played Arsenal and Tottenham.
Okay.
After playing Arsenal, they lost to Brentford.
It was 2-0, not 1-0. It was 2-0.
They lost to Brentford. Then they had the 2 games where they beat Tottenham and Man City. So it wasn't that long ago where we seen them have a game where they struggled to score after another team.
I think we're also ignoring the fact that again, I just don't see Newcastle sitting back at home. Look, you're right. If they go 2-0 up, then they'll do that. I get it. They might do that, right? But they're not going to do that. They're going to play open and expansive. So I just don't. I get where you're coming from, but I do think if you watch Chelsea play, they are improving. You yourself came on here after the City game and
I
said
watched Chelsea more than a lot of people.
And there's a comment here that says, Terry, Chelsea had all the space to score against 9 men of Spurs. Let's have it right, though. Up until the 2 players were sent off, they were still creating and opening Tottenham up. The red card for Romero literally came through Chelsea cutting Tottenham apart. So yes, they ended up scoring against 3 goals, I think it was, against 9 men. However, it wasn't as though Chelsea weren't creating opportunities when it was 11 v 11. A super chat here said,
I'm just going to say one thing. Let's be honest. Chelsea this season have been foreplay FC. They don't finish. That's the whole point. So if they can't finish against teams that are good defensively, they're not gonna beat them. Newcastle are a more physical team, a more experienced team, and this young Chelsea side, they're going to be going away from home, and you're going to expect them to put on the similar performances than they did the last couple of games. I just don't see it happening.
Egal, accept it. You lost.
We will, guys.
I haven't lost. The score will tell us if I'm right.
Guys,
or wrong.
We'll be going through the score predictions when we do golden goals later on the show. So make sure you get the app downloaded, or you can use the web link, whichever one you want to do. Scan the QR code or click on the link below. Get yourself signed up and ready right now. It's a free account to open, so go and get that done. This here says Chelsea and Newcastle is an absolutely. It's going to be absolutely a draw, is what Brian says here. Please explain RB Salzburg and RB Leipzig just joined. I actually Googled it and had a little look. Essentially, they removed, like I was saying earlier, RB Salzburg removed certain officials from their boardroom, which enabled them to have enough evidence to say that they're not run by the same people. It's essentially, according to this article here I just read, that's me boiling it right down. So again, as long as the boards are different, it's going to be okay. The difference between Leipzig and Salzburg is that both clubs agreed with the UEFA that their staff with one club had no interest in the other. Exactly. And that's all Man United are going to have to do. It is exactly the same thing. Wearing another team's jersey, modern day football fans shake my head. Yeah, I do agree. It is vile.
Yeah, you'll never catch me doing that. Never.
It should be illegal. It should genuinely,
when they knock you out of
honestly,
the Champions League,
have
you miss
all
it
the
so much.
bad laws we have in the UK. It should be illegal to wear another club's football shirt unless you've lost a bet or something. It should be a punishable crime. It really it is. I never understood it. And the biggest reason I don't get it, I don't even care if they're European clubs. Why are you supporting another club financially that will one day compete against you? It don't make sense to me. Everyone got suckered in with the PSG thing. Honestly, football shirts are not a fashion statement. It's about supporting your club. Anyway, someone says, why? Just my opinion. If you do it, bless you. Bless you, Enzo. Bless you, me old mate. Arsenal. We're going to go to Arsenal's game in a minute, but I wanted, there's Fabrizio put the news out today about Arsenal essentially agreeing to now sign David Raya full-time. It was a loan with a option to buy. That option has now been exercised by Arsenal and it will become an obligation to buy at the end of the season. It's been a signing that's created a lot of controversy, more so in the media. A lot of fans are at each other's throat about Ramsdale and Raya. Has it upset the dressing room? Has it damaged the defense? Is it making the goalkeepers perform badly? You've got Ramsdale's dad on podcasts sort of slagging Raya off, saying he's not ripping up trees. Like, what do you make of the signing being made permanent and the overarching controversy that's being drummed up about this deal with Gal? Arteta's
made his choice. He's going to go with Raya. And I think this is what's going to lead to Ramsdale being sold potentially in the summer. That's I think what the end conclusion is going to be. As of right now, Ramsdale's going to have to be professional. He's going to be with us probably until the end of the season. And I expect him to play against Brentford on the weekend. And I expect him to start. So when it comes to that game, it's his opportunity to take his chance and try to get his name back in the Arsenal books and see if he can get a clean sheet, good performance, and maybe he can get some starts in the Champions League. But Mikel Arteta, he's seen Ramsdale for a year. He's made his decision. He brought in Raya. Raya was actually one of his first choices to bring in as a goalkeeper when we originally wanted to bring in Ramsdale. So I get it. And with the whole thing with his dad, Terry, a father is going to support his son. I completely understand that. But I just think there's certain players at Arsenal, they just don't do their PR training or something because they're saying things that are necessarily unneeded. Like you got Ramsdale talking about his concentration. You got Jesus saying things that's going to put heat on him. You got Zinchenko saying he's not a good defender. It's just some of these things don't need to be said in the public, in my opinion. But outside of that,
what's Gabriel Jesus said? I've missed this one.
Gabriel Jesus yesterday was trending because he said scoring goals is not his strong suit. Basically implying. Listen, we all can all admit. You're laughing, but you can all admit that it is annoying to hear. But the reality is, his strong suit has never been finishing.
Bro, you don't say that in public in an interview. You don't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The PR at Arsenal. I'm pretty sure Mikel Arteta does not like the fact that Ramsdale was on 15 podcasts yesterday, last year, chilling with the sidemen, and then you have Zinchenko doing mid-season podcasts with Rio Ferdinand talking about his defending, and now you have my man on international duty after being injured for 4 weeks, coming out with this interview. So it's like, I think the PR people need to speak to these guys and say, rein it back. You don't need to say everything.
Yeah, someone need to tell these guys never to hold a microphone in their life.
I don't know. I don't have an issue with that. I want to ask the panel about David Raya. I don't want to lose sight of that. Has this been a mistake by Mikel Arteta, Kate, to bring in, not just bring in David Raya, but to keep Ramsdale in goal for a few weeks, then bring Raya in? Raya's performances have been very hit and miss at times. What do you make it as a rival watching? Clearly disliked Arsenal. Are you glad he's done this, or do you think actually he's improved the goalkeeper and this is bad news?
As a rival watching, I don't really give a monkey's what he does. As someone who tries to look at it from an unbiased view, everyone knows that I don't think Arteta's that great anyway. And that's not because I hate Arsenal. It's because if I was an Arsenal fan and I'd watched the likes of Wenger manage my club, I would expect better from a manager. And I don't think Arteta is that. But it's his decision. Me personally, I don't see that much difference. I don't think Raya's looked like, I mean, if I put him up against Vicario, I think Vicario outshone him this season. in every aspect. I don't think Ramsdale's particularly done anything wrong. I find it really embarrassing his dad's come out and made all those statements. I think that's really cringe. I'm not going to lie, but I think Arteta is probably showing a little bit of his naivety as a manager, really, because I think he's treated Ramsdale terribly. I hope Ramsdale does go. I'd take him in a heartbeat at my club, not going to lie. And I hope Raya is a roaring absolute flop. So, but yeah, the way Arteta's handled it, I think it's been awful.
You call yourself impartial.
Honestly, Egal, I don't understand why Arsenal fans get so rattled and upset and cry if someone criticises Arteta. What has he done that makes you all adore him so much? Please explain, because I don't genuinely understand.
He's turned around the whole club.
Well,
From an absolute mess that we were under Unai Emery, with players in every single position that were terrible, revamped the whole squad, developed young players, got us from 8th to 5th to competing for the league last season, and expected to challenge again for the league again this season. He's put us back into the Champions League for after 7 years. In addition to that, expectations of the club are now back to actually expecting to win major trophies, where before they were in the gutter. So if you're asking me what Mikel Arteta has done, he's done a lot.
But you've not won nothing. It's all right having expectations, but if you don't win
nothing, guess what? In order to get somewhere, you have to have the right people in charge to get you to that place. And unfortunately, you don't know what that's like.
No, I do, because I'll tell you something. I think if you had an elite manager managing your team, you would have gone and won the league.
Guess what? You've had elite managers back to back, and then guess what? You wanted to do the Arteta thing, so you went and got Ange Postecoglou in to try to change it up, because you had back to back. You had back to back. Oh, you had N'Golo. You had, what do you call it? Conte. You had friggin' Jose Mourinho, and you realized that this elite manager thing doesn't work at little old Tottenham. You need a manager who's actually bought in, and that's what you did. You ended up getting
Egal. Did you just say Tottenham?
You guys are actually following the Arsenal model, same as Chelsea.
No, winning nothing. Yeah, you're right there.
Hold on. No. Postecoglou is nothing like Arteta. Postecoglou is nothing like Arteta. Postecoglou is nothing like what Arteta was.
About winning things. Arteta's won more things than your club has.
You'll be telling me I've got an Arsenal shirt on next.
Wait, hold on.
No one's telling you got an Arsenal shirt on.
Hold on,
guys. One at a time. Patrick, go on, mate.
You just said Arteta's won more than Postecoglou. Is that what you just said?
No, I said Arteta has won more than your club since 2008. Is that not a fact?
Yeah, but what's that got to do with the price of fish?
I know. What's that
because she was talking about trophies. So I'm just finding it ironic.
Why is it ironic? Oh my God! This is what I mean about Arsenal fans. You can't with them.
Confusing.
No, you're the one that mentioned trophies. I just find it hilarious.
My club, right? But you Arsenal fans, it's like you all want to bend down and suck him off, and I don't get it why. I just don't understand.
You guys were on all fours for Pochettino every single week. He didn't win you nothing.
I was never on a
nothing. Your greatest achievement under your golden era is the Champions League final. That's it.
I'm not comparing Arsenal because you're miles ahead of us.
I'm trying to show you how funny this is. You're getting at Arsenal fans for being happy about a manager who's gotten us back to a certain level. Of course, we're going to be happy about a manager. Of course, we're going to be happy about a manager who's helped turn around the whole situation at the club. Let's be honest. It's not just the manager, the backroom staff, everything's changed, and it seems to be, in the right direction. And I get it. Everyone wants to criticize Arteta, make jokes about Arteta. The running joke is Arsenal this, Arsenal that. Until we deliver, you don't have to rate my manager. I encourage the hate, because guess what? It will push us to go on and do better things. But right now, if you're gonna say what has Mikel Arteta done, you are blind if you cannot see what he's done in the time that he's been at Arsenal.
But he spent £700 million or something ridiculous.
Who doesn't spend money? Who doesn't spend money? It's just our signings are actually not flops, unlike yours. You have Undembele flopped. You have that other kid what's his name? From Spain, who flopped right away. You got Richarlison flop. At least when we spend our money, besides Pepe and Kai Havertz, majority of our players have hit the ground running when they've come in.
So besides the two major flops, you have our flops.
Mikel
Arteta has made over 15 players signings. Mikel
Alright,
Arteta
guys.
has made
Let's
15 player
be
signings.
balanced.
I'm going to jump in now. Sorry, go on, Patty. Say a bit on that. Go
I
on.
was just going to say, Egal, be balanced because we've signed players this season and they've come in and they haven't flopped, first and foremost. Secondly, this whole Arsenal model thing, it's not an Arsenal model. Yeah, to be fair, I like Arteta. I'm not on the same notion as Kate. I think he's a good manager. But for you, every time you get criticised or, you know, to then be so insecure, if you believe in Arteta, you don't need to send shots back. Let the manager and let the football do the talking. You just seem very insecure, and
you say
a
something,
lot
I'm
of
going to check you on it.
no,
It's
but
not
Arsenal
shots back.
fans,
I'm checking what you're saying.
You seem very rattled. Like it's always, what about Tottenham?
Nah, this is just how I am, 24/7, bro. I'm switched on.
In your golden era, we haven't won. Like, why are you talking about us?
No,
Like,
but that's true though.
talk about yourself.
Am I lying?
Like, Tottenham had nothing to do with
No,
the
but she
conversation. It was
mentioned
about David
trophies.
Raya and Ramsdale. How have we got into this?
One second. You Tottenham, you wanted to play expansive football. That's what we were doing. You wanted to challenge for the league. That's what we're doing. You wanted to talk about pushing a team from being outside of the competition. That's what we're doing. Last 4 years from where we were to what we are now, even though we haven't won any major honors, it is a major turnaround, and that's what Mikel Arteta has done. And if you cannot rate what Mikel Arteta has done in the last 4 years, and you're saying we only rate trophies, then physically you're blind because you don't want to see what he's done.
Cool, guys. It's a great debate. We'll move on. Viewers, keep hitting like buttons, please, and get Golden Goals downloaded onto your phones, ready for that section of the show. Brentford, though, Brentford host Arsenal, Mo, 5:30 on Saturday. How do you see this one going? And with the potential, we're going to preview it later, but with the potential of one, if not both, of Man City and Liverpool dropping points, one of them definitely will. How big a game is this for Arsenal, and how do you think they'll cope going away to Brentford?
I think Gabriel Jesus is back with Saka and Martinelli will help them a lot. I think Arsenal will win this game, and they're gonna prove now that we're gonna play against Brentford. They're gonna sit deep. Brentford are gonna sit deep, try to do counter-attack, and I think not a lot of teams have succeeded to go counter-attacks against Gabriel and Saliba, who has been the best defender in the league, in my opinion. William Saliba. I don't know who to people thank Arteta or thank Saliba himself, but he has been one of the best defenders in the league, if not the best. I think this Arsenal team now, it's time for them to now having that Jesus back is to play now the good football, the expansive football that they haven't been playing this year for the majority of the games. And I think if they win this game as well, it's part of the march towards getting close to Manchester City and trying to challenge again. Away against Brentford is not an easy game, but Arsenal, I think that the way we saw Arsenal this year, the way we see them play, I think Brentford shouldn't be that tough for them. Even though Brentford are going to sit back, Arsenal should be able to win this game because they are actually equipped to play against a team that play counter-attack because of how Saliba has been playing and how Gabriel has been playing, and even Ben White defensively hasn't been bad. So I think Arsenal should be all right in this game. And with Liverpool and Man City playing earlier, I think Arsenal will be all right. And it doesn't matter who wins for Liverpool or Man City, Arsenal will be calm because one of them is going to drop points or both. So I think they'll be all right. I think I'm waiting to see Jesus, Saka, Martinelli again in the team because when we seen them this year, they looked all right. They didn't look bad. They looked good like last year. The problem with Nketiah when he comes in, and I think people want to slander Arsenal, and we're looking at the regression in terms of like the football, and they say we play calculated football all the time. Arsenal fans like to say that. But now you have the player back, Gabriel Jesus. Now we want to see what you're made of. Now we want to see the expensive football that made you get 50 points out of the first 19 games last year. And they are still not that far from last year in terms of point tally. People just want to slag Arteta for some reason.
No, I don't think that's right.
Kate and Patrick.
I don't think that's right, man.
I didn't even say nothing bad about Arteta. I said nothing bad.
Well, you're a Spurs fan by default.
I don't like him, but I like him as a manager.
I hope he stays at Arsenal for a long time because, in my opinion, he'll never do anything there. So long may him stay there.
Why are you? I know Terry doesn't want to go into this, but he has improved a lot, of players, young players. He made people keep talking about Chelsea young. Saka 22, Martinelli 22, Gabriel Jesus 26, Odegaard 24, Rice 24, Saliba 23. This is young people, and he brought. By the way, Raya's numbers, and for people that doubt David Raya, Raya's numbers are good. He is making mistake because Arteta is asking him to take risks. Because Arteta could have chosen Ramsdale and tell him just boot the ball whenever you are under pressure. Raya is gonna make mistakes because he is getting better. That's it.
Fox, he even said that after the game against Man City. He said, "I'm asking him to make these choices."
I hear you on that. Lewis, you're about to say something after Mo spoke about the game. You said you disagree. I'm interested to know what you're going to say, mate.
No, I disagree in what Mo's saying about people coming on down on Arteta this season. You know, especially because I think there is a very legitimate claim to say that what Arteta has done this season is not the right thing. Time will tell as to whether it does. But I feared Arsenal more last year with how quickly they got the ball forward and being less controlled. Now, again, you know, people looking at it saying, "Oh, Arsenal are more controlled. They're less susceptible to conceding on the counter, less susceptible to conceding goals, whatever." Great, that's your opinion. My opinion is that I felt that Arsenal last year, the way they played last year, was better. Obviously, like I say, time will tell who's right on that. But I think it's a very legitimate claim that people have that they've potentially regressed this year with the way they're playing.
I agree with you, of course. I never said like they are slower this year. And I said calculated football. I'm making fun of the people that say calculated football. Arsenal don't look as fluid. It's a fact, LB, and we agree on that. But again, they haven't had all their players back. He made a massive mistake with this freaking Kai Havertz signing. It's absolutely a waste of money. And a waste of everybody's time watching this guy trying to shoehorn him into the team. It's a fact. So I agree with you. But again, I will give him time. What I mean is that I'm going to give him, if I see that regression, if he is 12, 15 points or 10 points away from City by the end of the season, I'm going to say, yes, you regressed. You deserve to go. But if he keeps this up and he's between 1 or 2 points at the end of the season, I'm not going to say, well, you regressed because you didn't win the league, while he came close to the triple win at the City that Pep Guardiola, who's supposed to be the best manager in the world, is not supposed to be. He is actually the best manager in the world. I'm going to say, you're progressing. I'm going to give you another chance. But the fact that people just want to say, you haven't won a trophy, let's sack you when you're getting closer to the best team, one of the best teams you have seen ever, I think this is unfair. But I see your point, LB. At the moment, yes. But I'm going to give him time. It's 12 games in.
I know this is cliche, but defense wins you championships. And it wins you like the league. You could score as many goals, but if you're conceding a lot of goals, there's going to be situations where you're going to find yourself in shaky situations. And Arteta, he looks at what he has to his disposal and he says, what's the best way for us to do well? He can see that there's still deficiencies in our attack. I could say we have a really good midfield. And last year we had one of the best midfields. This season we're still evaluating our midfield, but our best part of our game is our defense. Why not utilize it to our strength? Why not capitalize on what our strength is and try to make sure that we have one of the best defenses in the league and not be the bedrock on us trying to win? Because we could score as many goals as we want, but if Man City continue doing what they're doing and you see Liverpool doing what they're doing and we have some shaky games because of our poor defense like we did in the back end of last season, we could find ourselves in the same situation last season where we just come short, but we're playing good football. I would rather us utilize our strength and make Arteta do whatever the best he can to get the strength to get the best out of these players, knowing that their defensive shape and their solidity is what's going to carry us this season. And I don't mind if it means there's going to be games where we win 1-0, 2-0, and we go back to the great old to the Arsenal 1-0. I don't care.
Egal, would you? Sorry, Tom. Can I just ask him a quick question? Would you say that Liverpool's defense is solid enough to win them a championship right now?
This season so far, it's been decent because they have the same amount of goals as us. But I would say they don't have as solid a defensive midfielder as we do in Declan Rice, and also as a backup in Thomas Partey. So they could potentially falter later in the season in their defensive shape there. And also, I don't think they have as many rotation pieces in their defense. They're kind of struggling right now, just with Robertson out. If they face one more injury to their back line, it could be a situation.
So
yeah, the reason, the context
on that is we've had defensive injuries. We've had games where we've been low on defenders. We've come through it, but on Arsenal, I understand that you're saying you want a strong defense, but the issue I think you've run into this season is your attack stagnated. Whether that be injuries or whatever, your attack in certain games is stagnated. Yes, you have the best defense in the league, but you've also conceded in 7 Premier League games. And that's no problem. But the issue is you've not won 4 of them. You've drawn 3 of them and lost 1 of them, and that was to Newcastle. Whereas us, I'll just use us as an example. I think we've conceded in 7 Premier League games, but we've won more than we've ended up dropping points in. Because what seems to happen is the moment Arsenal concede a goal against sides
Bro,
that
we
aren't
have the
Burnley,
same record, Tom.
yeah, okay, but you're missing my point. You've won more games, 1-0 or 2-0 or 4-0 or whatever it is. But when teams score against you, you more often than not have a tendency to drop the points in those games.
But we also have more
You-
clean sheets. So what's your point?
That is
I'm
my
not
point.
following the point as well.
That is my point.
I'll keep thinking about it,
yes.
looking at the table.
Because my point is, you are keeping more clean sheets, but when you do concede, you aren't able to come back as much as we are. So you might have more clean sheets, but in games where you go 1-0 down or 2-0 down, you're not. I wouldn't back you to come back to go.
You're coming back to the attack. Okay.
So what he's essentially saying is you're right about your claim, but here's a counterbalance to that argument. Is essentially what that is.
My counterbalance to that is our best attackers have not played this season. So of course we're going to have a situation where you're going to say, oh, our attack has not been as clinical. We've been one of the poorest at chance creation. We've scored a lot of our goals from penalties and from set pieces. So I'll give you guys credit there. You guys do have a better attack than us. But guess what? Even with your better attack, you've only scored 1 more goal than us this season. So it just goes to show that as bad as everyone's making it out to be, that we're this bad team offensively, we have only scored 1 less goal than this juggernaut attack that Liverpool have. I'm sorry to do this comparison, but the reason why I'm doing the comparison is because you're one of the highest teams in chance creation this season. It just goes to show the difference in the teams. Polar opposites in chance creation, but you guys have only scored 1 more goal than us. So,
because you have been one of the most clinical. So Arsenal have been one of the most clinical teams in the league, actually.
I hear that. I want to go to some super chats here before we do golden goals. Of course, we've still got the big preview of Man City versus Liverpool to come, so stay with the show. Some super chats here. First one says, Egal is right in terms of what Arteta has done so far. We can see it, and it will be apparent to all. This Kate is used to watching rubbish at Spuds. Is what NUFX design says here. Don't forget Arteta rescued little Timmy down the well. G's water into wine is what is said here. Egal, Arsenal last season, joint second best defense, no title.
No, that's not even true. Chelsea had a better defense than us last season. We were terrible at the end of the season. We fell off a cliff. We were like 5th at the end.
Kate is so I think he's so hypocritical. She always slating Arteta in front of Arsenal fans and asks Arsenal fans why defending him. Lol, he's our manager. What do you expect?
Well, Lee Gunner doesn't defend him because he's got an honest, open approach to what he sees.
No, because he doesn't want the manager from day one because he didn't sign an autograph for him.
I'll give over. That's not the only reason. He expects better for his team. I mean, it's up to you lot. I just asked a question. That's all. God, you're all so defensive of him. Jesus.
Okay, it's because he doesn't say mate, right? Allow it.
Okay. Terry, do you still think either Kai or Mason Mount won't flop? No, I've changed my mind on that, my friend. Mo, I agree with you. But if we finish within 1 or 2 points of City, wouldn't it highlight that Havertz blunder even more? Egal, be cocky after trophies is what Ricky.
You don't want to see me after we win major honors.
Well, I don't think you want to see Egal, period.
No, Mo is always measured and mature in his responses. That's first. LB
he doesn't have a dog in the race.
LB feared
if you talk about Inter.
We lost to them twice, is what Brian says here. Pete says she keeps saying not because I ate Arsenal. She's Cockney like me. It's how we speak. We don't pronounce our H's.
I hate Arsenal. Sorry.
Oh yeah, Queen's English, please, Kate. This is from Jerome. That says, Egal, you do waffle a lot, but I have to agree that he has defended his manager when being criticised. He has made Arsenal better, and Kate is being biased, is what Jerome says. Who is a Spurs fan? Brian here says we beat Brentford with a fully rotated team. You did do that before. Evening, Terry and everyone. Tottenham have hired a winner. I think he means in Ange Postecoglou. He's an Australian. Australian sports players are mentally strong. We found on Sunday when they beat my team in the cricket final. Yeah, listen, is he a winner at the elite level? We're going to find out. We're going to find. He's a winner in. I don't know what he won when he was managing in Australia. We know he won a lot of Celtic, but most managers do, barring John Barnes. They all seem to win something there. LB, we were expansive and lost to City twice last year. This season being more solid, we beat City twice so far. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, I just think you're going to draw too many games, and you've took away, in my opinion, the best part about Arsenal last year, which got you in that title position, which was your attack, and now you've removed that. So yeah, let's see. But I think you'll draw too many matches.
There we go. Terry, ask my sister. It must be talking about Kate. What she thinks about Arsenal.
What she
Very
likes
brief.
about Arsenal.
What she likes about Arsenal. Sorry.
Yeah, they're a good team. I haven't said that Arteta hasn't improved you. People just listen to what they want to hear. I just don't think he's good enough for Arsenal. But like I said, they're not my club. But I try and look at it from the outside in. I'm not sure it's good enough for Spurs. You can all laugh and say whatever. For me, you had Arsene Wenger, who was magnificent. And then you go to Arteta, and I don't understand this obsession with this guy. Yes, he's improved your team, but that really wasn't that hard. Pochettino would have come in and improved your team. I don't understand why people are so obsessed with Arteta. That's all it is, but it's no skill of my nose either way.
This year from Mr. Me, he says, hey, Terry, just wanted to say I really love your content. Thank you. And he says, as Ty would say, remember the nurses, the twisty sausage makers at Little Chef, get your COVID jabs and Black Lives Matter. Yeah, I love the fact he does that. Do you know what I love when he does that? You can see whoever's holding the mic, like basically, come on, get to talking about football now. I love Ty. Okay, are you taking Ramsdale to replace your goalkeeper?
No, of course not. I'd have him as backup,
right,
though. I wouldn't have him to replace him, but yeah, as a backup.
Tony here said, I think it is a bit, I think it has a bit to do with FFP2. Should get a good amount for Ramsdale. Also agree Vicario has been better than Raya. That's from an Arsenal fan. Thank you, Tony. Martin says, Kate would do anything for a Community Shield, let alone an FA Cup. Well, you kind of need the FA Cup to get the Community Shield. How do you lie so confidently, Egal? We conceded 47 goals last season and you conceded 43, which was joint second in the league.
What are we talking about?
Chelsea, very true.
Didn't Chelsea and Manchester United have worse defense than us last season? I mean,
now, Man United conceded more goals, but we got more clean sheets. We had, I'm not going to mention what game, but we had a few games where we shipped loads of goals in one particular game, but we got more clean sheets than most other clubs.
No. Man United and Arsenal have the same goals conceded. Man City
no.
and Newcastle.
They actually lied. They actually lied because Newcastle and Man City both finished with 33 goals conceded last season. So how are you saying Arsenal finished second?
Do you know what he's done? Do you know what he's done? Do you know what he's doing there? Yeah, when you get a joint first, there's no third place. It goes straight to there's no second place. It goes to third. So I get where the guy's coming from. There's two at the top, and then you, I think he's saying. So you're third best. That would make you right
with Man United.
But
with Man United.
But still, we conceded. I think 17 goals.
We can move on. It's
yeah. Go ahead.
Mo equals Professor a young Wenger in his philosophy. Oh, Mo, look at the praise for you tonight, young Wenger. Egal, Arsenal have a better defense than Liverpool, yet have conceded the same amount of goals as Liverpool. Liverpool have been better than Arsenal so far in the Premier League, is what Zane says here.
I agree.
I don't dispute that. But guess what? We're still on the same points.
Kate, we won't be taking advice from you. Thanks. You got this goodness says to you. Listen, viewers, we're going to play Golden Goals now. If you haven't seen this already, you've got to go and get it downloaded right now. The link is in our description below, or you can scan the QR code. Get the BetMGM app downloaded now. Of course, terms and conditions apply. But what I want to tell you about this game, got to be over the age of 18 as well. It's free to have the app. It's free to play this game every single week, every single match week, and you don't need to deposit any money upon the app. If you just want to play Golden Goals, which is what I'm doing, feel free to do it. But we're going to change this. I'm going to try and do this seamlessly here. We're going to move everybody over and put this in. There, look at that. I did it all right, you know. I was quite happy with myself. So we're going to go through each of the 6 games that feature in Golden Goals this week. Viewers, I'd love to get your predictions in as well. Let us know what you've put into the app right now. First of all, we're going to start with the first game, which is Burnley versus West Ham. We'll go for all of these. You've gone for 1-1 there, Tom.
I just think something's not right fully at West Ham at the minute. I think there's a lot of pressure on Moyes. And I think this could be a game where everything just sort of clicks with Burnley. I don't think Burnley are very good, like we prefaced that, but Turf Moor, they're due a result. They're due a decent result against a decent side. I could very well just see it being this one. And West Ham will miss gilt-edged chances in it. You'll see like Bowen miss a one-on-one. I think Antonio was injured, so I don't know. They've got it from Danny Ings. I know West Ham fans aren't the biggest fan of Danny Ings, so I could just see this being a slip-up for West Ham and Burnley get a draw, which gets them above Everton finally, even though Everton had a 10-point deduction. Yeah. So
I hear you. Lewis, you've gone with 2-1 West Ham.
Yeah, unfortunately not able to back my boy Vinny Company, but I don't know how Tom can get any confidence in backing Burnley at all for a draw or a win when, you know, they've lost 10 out of 12. So, you know, and Danny Ings, you know, he's not the worst striker in the world. A good player, Danny Ings. So I've just gone for West Ham to nick this one 2-1.
I hear you there. Next up, Kate, you've gone same score, 2-1.
Yeah, I just think West Ham have got a bit too much for Burnley, which is a shame. I thought Burnley would do better than they've done, but you know, it is what it is. I think they'd just be too strong going forward. So
I hear you. By the way, I didn't mention this and it slipped my mind. So when you play Golden Goals, it's free every time you play it. If you win and get all 6 scores right, it is the biggest free giveaway in UK history. You are given £2 million tax-free. So why would you not play? It costs you nothing to enter, and you could win £2 million. There's a guarantee of £5,000 for the person who gets the best or the most amount of results correct. So 5,000 guaranteed, and if you get all 6 right, it is a £2 million giveaway.
Woo!
You all know who MGM are, right? Las Vegas, babe. That's what we're doing. We are bringing Las Vegas to the football terrace. So because it's free, why would you not get it done? So get it downloaded now. Next, in terms of the Burnley-West Ham game, is me. I've also gone 2-1 West Ham as well. I think we're all thinking alike there. I just don't think Burnley have enough. And I think West Ham will get over the line. And Chatty Patty, you've gone with 3-1 West Ham.
Sorry, I was chilling on mute. Sorry. I just think, like LB saying, I like Vincent Kompany, but yeah, he's been shambolic in the Premier League. West Ham are a good team, man. Low key, they've got some good players in that team. They're just going to be too good for Burnley over the course of the game. And yeah, I think Burnley will get spanked yet again. You know what? Because people like Vincent Kompany, the media's not onto him. But if there's any other manager, they'd be asking a lot of questions right now because they've been absolutely shocking.
No, I totally get you. It really is. The next game, obviously, Mo hasn't been able to play it because it's not available in the United States. We couldn't do it. The next game is Burnley, Sheffield United, Chatty Patty. You've gone 2-1. Sorry, Bournemouth, Sheffield United. You've gone 2-0 to Bournemouth away from home.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth are a good team, man. Again, they've got some good players. Their midfield's quite good. I just think that Sheffield United, I think that's an easy win. Even though it's away from home, I think Bournemouth will win that game.
Sheffield United unbeaten in the last 2, bro.
I know. But Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth's midfield will overpower them. And then Solanke's been in decent form as well. I think Bournemouth are all right, man. I think they're starting to cook.
Again, Bournemouth all right. It's back to me again now. I think I went with 2-0 Sheffield United. I have looked at their recent form. They were pretty good against Man United when we played them. I thought they did well against Man City when they played there. And Bournemouth, I find a little bit leaky. So, yeah, I've gone for 2-0 home win to Sheffield United. Kate's up next. You've gone 0-0. Bore draw in this one.
Yeah, do you know what? I didn't really know what I fancied here. I normally back Bournemouth, and every time I back Bournemouth, they let me down. So I thought I'm just going to do a bore draw.
That makes a lot of sense. We're back to Lewis here. You've gone 1-0 Sheffield United.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to be a close game. But, you know, Sheffield United had a horrendous start to the season. Unbeaten in the last 2 games, 1 win and a draw. And they must be looking at this game thinking, if we can get a win here, we get ourselves out the relegation zone. And they can actually start to feel a little bit optimistic, you know what I mean, about staying in the division when everyone had them wrote off. So it's a huge game for both teams. But for Sheffield United, the prize to get out of the relegation zone is massive. So I've gone for a 1-0 Sheffield United to nick it.
There we go. And back to you, Tom. You've gone 1-1.
Both teams have decent attacks. Both teams have pretty shaky defences. I just look at the fact that I quite like Cameron Archer for Sheffield United. I think he's a very good young striker. I think he's got goals in him. And for Bournemouth, I know everyone looks at Solanke as the big, goal threat, but I like that Sinisterra fella, the Colombian lad they got on loan from Leeds. I thought he was a threat last year for Leeds. I think he caused a lot of problems against Sheffield United. It's not going to be a game that's filled with goals because it's Sheffield United and Bournemouth. Both teams have struggled to score this year. But I can see it easily. It screams draw for me. It screams like bottom of the table draw. Both teams are happy with the point that they get as well.
I hear you. The next game, we'll stick with you, Tom, is Nottingham Forest versus Brighton. You've gone 2-1 home win to Forest.
Forest beat them at home last year. I remember that one vividly. I think it was 3-2 back then, but they beat them at home last year. I think Brighton at the minute are very low on confidence. I think people just seem to have this idea in there that Brighton are flying. I think they're like winless since September, which is like a real concern. The Amex, and I could see this. Look, I'm a big fan of a 1 year. I think it's a fantastic strike. I'm a big fan of that Nottingham Forest attack. I think it's very dynamic. You've got Hudson-Odoi in there. You've got Alanga in there, who probably would have been United's best right winger this season. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White in the 10, who can always cause problems. And I quite like the centre back as well, Murillo. Brighton will score because Brighton always score, but I just think they're going to cause enough problems for us. I could see a 1 year getting a brace, causing Adam Webster or Van Heck or a lot of problems. And if they've got to play Milner at full back again, Hudson-Odoi will have a field day. So I could very easily just see Forest leaving the City ground with 3 points.
There we go. Back to you, Lewis. You've gone with 2-1 to Forest as well.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to repeat everything. I pretty much agree with what Tom's saying there. Forest, they're not a bad side, Even the games that they've lost against some of the big teams, they were really unlucky. And Brighton are struggling. They're struggling. They're not losing games, but they're struggling to win. But I just feel Forest being at home, I've just got them to nick it.
I don't think it's a bad prediction. Next, Kate, you've gone with exactly the same score as well, 2-1 Forest.
Yeah, I think Brighton just look bang out of sorts at the minute. And Forest look decent. So I fancy them to nick it. I think it'll be close, but I fancy Forest to be strong enough at home to win it.
Yeah, I've gone 3-2 Forest, to be fair. I think there'll be goals in this game. Both teams are open, but there's something a little bit off right now with Brighton, and I'm predicting Forest to do it at home. And Chatty Patty, you've actually gone against the grain here, gone 2-1 to Brighton.
Yeah, I'm shocked. No one's back in Brighton. To be fair, I'm not shocked. Their form has been really bad, and I probably, if they were playing in Europe and this was after a European fixture, I would have probably went Forest. But after the international break, I think the players will come back refreshed on paper. And if you look at them tactically, I feel Brighton are the better team. And I just think this is the game where they kind of bounce back because they have been all over the place. But I think they will turn it around in this game.
Listen, they could. Moving on to the next one. It's a big one. It's weird that it's at 3:00. Sorry, I shouldn't have moved that along. But Newcastle versus Chelsea. You've gone for a 2-1 Chelsea away win.
Yeah, I just think, as we said, we've already discussed it kind of here. I just feel that Newcastle, with the injury problems, kind of low on confidence. The fans will be a bit shaky. If they make a mistake or two, it's kind of going to play into Chelsea's hands. Chelsea are in good form at the moment. Let's have it right. Playing well. And I just think they'll be up for it. And Chelsea do play really well against the big teams. This is another scalp, another chance for them to make an impression. And I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think Chelsea will nick it.
My prediction next on it, I've gone 3-2 Chelsea. I think there'll be goals in this game again. I don't know why I fancy it. I fancy both teams to score some goals, but Chelsea to nick it 3-2. I've gone for some big scores. You've got to be in it to win it. And as I say, by the way, I will let everybody know if I win the £2 million and if all six are right, I get it. I'm leaving the football terrace. I ain't working anymore. So I'll be gone. I will literally, and what I will do, I will gift my channel to somebody. If I get £2 million, I'll gift the channel to somebody as a present. There you go. Up next on this big one, we're going to go to you, Kate. You've gone with 1-1.
I didn't mean to do that. If I've gone with that, I've written down that I went with 2-1, but I fancy Chelsea to nick it actually 2-1. So, but If I did 1-1, that's probably just me being blonde. But I do fancy Chelsea to actually nick it with a 2-1 win. I can't.
The good thing is the deadline isn't until Saturday 3 p.m. So you can go in and edit them now anyway. So you can go in and edit it. You can go in and edit it, Kate. That can be done.
Editing it. I'm going to go 2-1. I think
2-1.
Chelsea would just be too strong for them.
And Lewis, you've gone 2-1 Chelsea as well. Is it for the same reasons?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a super close game. It could have gone either way. But just with the injuries Newcastle have got and the fact that Chelsea, I think, are on a bit of a high, I've just got them to nick it. But it's going to be super close, man.
I hear you. And young Tom, same score again, 2-1 Chelsea.
Yeah, look, I understand what St James's Park can do, and I won't ever try and underplay that. But I just think I don't know who's back. I don't know if Isak's back. I'm unsure on that. And if Isak's not back, then there's just no real front man for Newcastle. So as much as they might want to play on the counter, they lack the outlet to receive the ball and hold the ball and bring everyone into play. And I think Chelsea, they are just going to get... They're in some good numbers. They're in some good underlying numbers. This will just be another game where, if anything, it'll be a game where we look back on it and go, Chelsea should have won 4-1. But they'll get a 2-1 win because I just think the pressure will be enough.
I hear you. And in the next game at 3 o'clock, you've gone Luton Palace 1-1.
Well, Luton are a fantastic side. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Luton are a top side. They're always going to be a tough place to go to. I just think Crystal Palace, I don't think this Palace squad and Roy Hodgson is the correct mix of manager and squad. I think this Palace side needs a manager who's going to play a little bit more expansive football. And I feel that there's going to be a lot of moments where Palace are going to start attacks and then they fall off. It's almost a bit of favoritism. And Luton, they're just there. They're just going to keep grinding out these draws, these sloppy 1-0 wins. If anything, I could see it being a Luton win maybe, but I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. The same score for you, Lewis, as well. You've gone 1-1 as well.
Yeah, I've gone for that. Luton are the second worst attack in the division. So, they're going to have to do something special. Yeah, again, these are all real close games, aren't they, to be honest with you? It could go either way, but yeah, 1-1. But if anyone's going to win it for me, it's going to be Palace, but I don't know. It's super close.
I hear you, mate. Kate, you've gone with 1-0 Luton, though. You've gone against the grain a little bit here.
I think Luton are going to, they're decent at home. And, yeah, Palace, they're a funny team as well. Yeah, I'm going for the Luton. I hope they win. I really want to see Luton stay up. Because I just love that their little ground and the whole concept of walking through someone's garden.
I hear you. I hear you on that. I've gone with 2-1 Palace. As much as I hear the story, I just think they're too open and it will play into Palace's hands. And that'd be 2-1. It'd be a close game, though, but I'm going to go with Palace to nick it. And Pat, you've gone with 1-1 as well.
Yeah, tough one. Hard to call. Pretty much, I think most of the guys have gone 1-1. I do like Luton. They've given all the big teams a good game. Kenilworth Road will be rocking. Palace aren't great, so I'm kind of, I think it nullifies or neutralizes itself. So, 1-1.
Fair dues. And in the final sort of one that involved one of the top 6 teams, Brentford hosts Arsenal. Score prediction, you've gone with 3-1 to Arsenal.
Yeah, as much as I'd love Brentford to get something out of this, I can't really see it happening. I hope I'm wrong. This is the one I want to get wrong on. Fuck the 2 million. I'll lose it to make sure. But as it stands,
are you mad? You'd rather they lose than get 2 million.
Listen, if I'm gonna get any of them wrong, I want it to be that one. But yeah.
Right, I want to ask you this question. It's the last game that kicks off. We're live after this final game. It's sitting there and you've got all 5 right, and you need Arsenal to win 3-1 for you to become a millionaire. Are you telling me you're going to root for Brentford? Yeah. You are going to be more of a gooner than Egal for 90 minutes, Mo.
Yeah, even though I can't say that out loud, and I'm saying it now, of course. But yeah, that's the only time I'd ever, want Arsenal to win, if it was, for my financial gain in that kind of way. But yeah, but going back to the game, Arsenal too good. Brentford have been okay in games, but yeah, I think Arsenal, unfortunately, would be too strong for them, especially if Jesus is back and all the other guys are, looking fit and firing. Yeah, Arsenal should win that.
Listen, I agree. I've gone with 3-1 as well. I'm not going to repeat too much of what you've said. Brentford are a dangerous team, but I just think Arsenal are going to have too much for them on the day. Kate, you've gone 3-1 Arsenal as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I can't see anything but an Arsenal win, unfortunately.
I'll leave it there with you. Lewis, you've gone 3-1 Arsenal. Also, everyone's doing 3-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, you know what though? Now that you've told me that you can edit your scores, I might reduce it to 2-1 Arsenal. I'm going to go
Okay.
in the app now and reduce it to a 2-1 Arsenal win, because listening to what we discussed about before, yeah, I don't think they're going to score 3. I'm going to go 2. So I'm going to do a K
I think
edit.
you should go 2-0 if you're.
Okay.
No, I'm all right with 2-1. Here you go. I'll do 2-1, bro.
And that's the same score, Tom. Tom, you've gone 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, look, I think you can't underplay what Brentford can do on the counter-attack. And Buemo and Visser can cause problems, but like Egal was saying earlier, they've got a strong defence. So if they go 2-0 up, which I'm expecting, because they've got this attack back, they go 2-0 up, Brentford get 1, and then they shut up shop. But I could very well edit this and go 2-2, because I think that the way Brentford set up in this 5-3-2 and the way they get late runners into the box, I think that can cause Arsenal a lot of problems with some of the players that they've got missing. I don't know if Partey is still missing, but if he is, that these late runs from midfield from Brentford, from a Jensen or a Norgard, or even like against Chelsea, where Ethan Pinnock from centre back pops up at the back post, they can cause Arsenal some problems. So I might edit that to go 2-2.
Interesting. But look, right up until what you've got to do, Pip, was get the app downloaded. As I say, play Golden Goals, and you can win £2 million if you predict 6 correct scores. Just opt in on the app. You don't need to deposit any money. It doesn't cost you anything to enter at any singular point. If you get all 6 right, you win £2 million. That's it. If you don't, there is a prize pool of £5,000 if the jackpot is not won. Of course, T's and C's apply. You have to be over the age of 18. And if you do win the money, they're going to ask to verify you. So remember that. So if you're under 18 and you're signing up and you win, you won't get the money. You need to be over the age of 18 to do it. And let us know how you get on. And we'll be talking about this regularly. BetMGM and Golden Goals will be with us for a while now. Make sure like buttons have been hit, though. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Obviously, the big game this weekend, though, and it comes at 12:30 tomorrow. Your travel. How do you feel about this game? Look, I'm going to Lewis first on this, because straight after the international break, it's an early kickoff. It's one of the biggest games of the season. Probably your hardest game at home of the season. Are you feeling confident that you'll be able to stop Liverpool taking points from you?
Yeah, I think I've got to be confident. My team at home is very, very good. You know what I mean? We've got a great record. We played some fantastic teams there last year and dominated and annihilated some of them. So yeah, of course, I'm going to be confident going into this game, and I believe that we can get the win, and I believe that we will win the game. That being said, you know what I mean? I'm not an idiot. I'm fully aware that Liverpool have some great players. And, you know, Salah for me is best right winger in the world, one of the best players in the world. Nunez holds a very interesting threat on the counter-attack. He's very fast, powerful. So if we do play a high line, getting him in behind Diaz, that could be super interesting. But ultimately, I've got to back my team. You know what I mean? I've got to back my team. I'm happy with it. There's pictures now. Erling Haaland is in training, so we know that he's going to be fine for the game. For anyone that was doubting whether or not he was going to be okay, he's going to be all right. He's going to play. So yeah, man, I think we're going to be up for the test. I think it's a bigger game for Liverpool, in my opinion, than City, because I think if they lose, I just think that sort of tells me that they're probably not quite ready to win the league this year. It doesn't write them off. They're obviously still in the title race, only 4 points, but that's the sort of picture I get. Because if City was to lose the game, I don't think anyone would be saying that's it, City are out the league. I think everyone would still be probably saying City are favourites. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a good game. It's 12:30 kickoff, which Tom's buzzing about. And yeah, I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it. I just think it's going to be a super interesting game. I don't think we're going to see a game like Chelsea where we opened up in our midfield. I doubt that's going to happen. I think we're going to respect Liverpool a lot more than we did Chelsea, and I think it'll be a close game. And it's about who takes the chances. So I'm glad we've got Haaland in the side.
Of course, Tom, you'd have been begging and praying for Haaland to have been out injured for this match. Liverpool fans are never confident about these 12:30 games after international breaks. Is that going to be a problem for you, or is that go out the window for a game this big?
It shouldn't be a problem if you win. I mean, this year we won both of them, but I think the gripe it is less so the fact that it's at 12:30 is the fact that we've had so many. Like, I think we've had 14 and the next closest to 6. But it can't be an excuse because this is a big game. The time it's getting played, that should go straight out the window. If you've got to go stay over in Manchester, go stay over in Manchester. I don't really, care. This is a massive game for us because this can cement the idea that this isn't a retool year where you get top 4 and then next year's where you go on. This a win here could go right. No, we're not messing around this year. We're a contender. We've got to be considered. On the Haaland thing, that one doesn't really bother me if he plays or he doesn't, because I think Alvarez causes more problems up front, genuinely, because there's movements and everything, and the lack of a DM, he just pop up in all the pockets. The one who I was hoping would miss the game through suspension, but he didn't end up getting booked, or he needed another game before, and was Rodri. So I know we're talking about Nunez, then LB in the threat case. I wouldn't even start Nunez. I'd be starting Jackpot.
I find that wild, bro. I just find that absolutely wild that you wouldn't start him. He is, for me, I mean, we spoke about this with Mo earlier on. For me, as in terms of a counter-attacking player, because obviously I think we all agree that City will probably dominate the ball, not dominate, but will have more possession of the ball and probably squeeze you up. From a counter-attacking point of view, out of all your players in the team, he's the one that scares me the most, and you don't want to play him. I find that incredible, bro.
No, I know, but I've explained to you why I want to stop the ball getting into Rodri. I know you're going to have more ball. I know because you're at home, you're going to dominate the possession and the proceedings. I want to force you to build up in ways which you don't like to build up in. So if I'm able to get on Rodri and I'm able to stop the ball getting to Rodri more times than not, then you have to try and build up through maybe Vardiol and Walker pushing forwards, or you've got to try and build up directly through the centre where we should hopefully have an overload. All that, as long as we can suffocate and stop you from doing what you normally do, I'd still back Salah on the counter-attack. I'd still back Jota on the counter-attack. Are these quick as Nunez? No. But what they lack in quickness, they make up in clinicalness. So we might not get as many counter-attacking opportunities, but I'd back us to score them more than I'd back it if it was Nunez, just because I've got a bigger history of Nunez fluffing these one-on-ones. So if I'm setting up, maybe I'm giving you too much respect in this sense, but I want us to just be setting up compact, defensive, stop the ball getting to Rodri, and look to put Sam maybe up front in this game and hit with the few counter-attacks we're going to get. Back Salah one-on-one against a Diaz or a Gvardiol.
The thing that I think Jurgen Klopp is going to do, actually, is going to do what Chelsea did. I think he's going to try to press Man City higher. Somehow, I have this feeling that he isn't going to sit back 11 players and hit on the counter-attack. He's going to try early to press. And Darwin Nunez, people want to say he's good in pressing. I think Jota, Diaz, and Salah will suit that better in terms of pressing and getting the ball and playing the transition-based football. I hear what Lewis is saying about the counter-attack and Nunez, but that's later in the game will come. If Man City are held to 0-0 or 1-1 or Liverpool are winning, now Darwin Nunez time will come. But in the beginning of the game, I hear what Tom is saying. Unless Jurgen Klopp decides, listen, we're going to sit all behind the ball, try to defend the City, which is, I think it might be a mistake, actually. Man City might score even if you sit back. When Chelsea sat back, Man City scored, by the way. And I think when you go a little bit, try to not press, but go a little bit higher, a little bit of a higher line, Manchester City, especially with Van Dijk, which is what Arsenal did. Arsenal didn't sit back against Manchester City. Arsenal a little bit played higher a little bit, tried to play in the front foot. I think Jurgen Klopp might try to do that. And it will prove it. Can Manchester City get at with press or not? I think, again, at home, Manchester City are probably the strongest team in the world at the moment. They have been proving it over the years. But I think Jurgen Klopp might press, and that's why he might not play Nunez. But it's a very tricky game because Manchester City, they don't rely on Kovacic now. Matthias Nunez and John Stones is injured. So the midfield is a little bit of a dilemma. Me and LB spoke about it for a couple of days now. It's a dilemma for Manchester City. Who do you play? Do you play Rico Lewis? Do you play Bernardo deeper? It's tricky for Pep Guardiola. We know how Jurgen Klopp is going to set up, who's the team is going to start. We don't know what Pep Guardiola is who's going to play. We don't know. He played Bernardo, Rodri, and Alvarez against Chelsea, and we saw Chelsea's midfield wasn't bad. They looked all right against them.
Egal, from your point of view, how I think anyone who believes they're in the title race this year needs Liverpool to take points away from City. You need City dropping points early in the season. You can't have them getting 4, 5, 6, 7 points this early because they're so good in the second half. How do Liverpool stop City from, at the very least, stop City from winning, in your opinion?
Bro, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. No matter what. It's going to the Etihad. Any team that goes there, they're going to find it extremely tough. The only way that I could see this game going in Liverpool's favor is if it's a back and forth high scoring game, because I don't see, even though Liverpool's defense has been good, I don't think you're keeping a clean sheet going to the Etihad. I don't think City are going to score goals at their ground. It's going to have to be a back and forth, like a 3-2 Liverpool, where Liverpool are just extremely clinical on the counter attack, and they catch City out on numerous occasions. And we know Liverpool, their attack is high profile, and they can be there. But personally, for me, I don't think it's gonna go that way. I think it's gonna be more of a game where it's back and forth, but it's gonna end in a draw, in my opinion. Because I think both teams are going to cancel each other out on the day. You're going to have City and Liverpool cancel each other both out on the day, and they're both going to leave with 1 point instead of either leaving with 3. And if I was to pick one winner, it wouldn't be Liverpool. It would actually be City, because they're the home team. They're going to be more aggressive in this game, where I think there's going to be a certain point in the game where you're going to see Liverpool more trying to shut up shop. And at their ground, City, they're relentless. They could potentially put 4 past you. So it's gonna have to be Liverpool that tried to control the game and hold on to a lead, and City's gonna be the one that are gonna be the aggressors for the whole 90 minutes. But yeah, my prediction is a 2-2 draw.
2-2. I mean, 2-2 draw would be good for everybody that's involved in the title race. And I know, Kate, you don't put Spurs in that position, but obviously, you want the teams above you to drop points. You want to go ahead of them. Can you see Liverpool causing an upset, or a City just too formidable and too strong at home, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think City are too good at home, and Liverpool aren't. I mean, they're not the best away. I know they've not got a terrible away record, but they've dropped points away from home. So, like I say, I never thought we was in any sort of title race anyway, but I just think City are just a different gravy to everyone in the Premier League. I still do. So for me, I don't think it'll be an annihilation. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll both play open, and there'll be lots of chances and probably quite a few goals, but I think City will win it 3-1 on the day. I just think the home advantage is going to be massive. And yeah, I just think they're a formidable team.
I think if the game opens up for me, I think City are more likely, because we've got clinical striker in Erling Haaland, and I get what Tom's trying to say, like by playing Salah up top, that compensates it. But I just don't think you should take your best player away from a position to change tactics. You know, he's played right wing this season. He's been absolutely fantastic, and that wouldn't be what I do. So yeah, I think if the game opens up, I think City are more likely to win.
There's some great individual battles in this game I'm looking forward to, because Van Dijk looks back to his absolute best. So him kind of up against Haaland needs to stay away from him as much as he possibly can and focus on somebody else. Mo Salah's not having a season where everyone's raving about him, but he has been prolific. Darwin Nunez, a few teams have caused City problems, especially in transitional attacks recently. I think I agree with Lewis. If Liverpool don't start him, that is absolutely ridiculous. He's been in great form during the international break as well. And Salah is a number, like in the central role, not for me. It can't be done. The midfield for Liverpool is what I'm really interested in. Is everybody available, Tom, in terms of the McAllister, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai?
They were all in training today. The only one that wasn't is Thiago, who might well be dead. Who knows where he is? But everyone else is fit.
So do you go with those three, or do you start with Endo, who is, I know he isn't as good as them, but he is the only natural DM? Do you go with a natural DM, or do you go with that three-man midfield for their ability on the ball, their speed and power? What would you go with?
Endo is not touching that starting 11, because he looks out of place against Brentford, not putting him in against City. The one player who I would start is Curtis Jones, because I think he gives us the most balance. If I'm playing McAllister on the 6, he's going to need as much support as possible. So Curtis Jones provides that support. He might not be as good in an attacking sense as Gravenberch, but in terms of ball retention and a dropping deep and just opening up angles for McAllister so he's not constantly getting pressured. I think Jones has to start. If he was to start in that 4-3-3, the most likely we're going to, I think it's got to be McAllister, Jones, Szoboszlai. But I also wouldn't rule out a crazy world where he puts Jones at DM and then plays Gravenberch and Szoboszlai ahead of him, because he's been toying with that idea in pre-season of playing Jones a bit deeper. He might just look at this game and go, yeah, I want Jones's physicality at that, in the base of that midfield three, and hope that Gravenberch and Szoboszlai on the ball can do enough creativity-wise.
What about Man City's midfield? Because with Kevin De Bruyne, I want to know, are they going to go with Julian Alvarez in this game? Because I think that's too attacking. I think if you go Bernardo Silva, Rodri, who's going to be that third piece?
For me, I would stick with I'd play the exact same team that he did against Chelsea. The only thing I'd switch, two things. One, I'd switch Doku out for Grealish, because I think you need Grealish helping out with the Salah situation down our left there, right hand side. And I would tell Bernardo Silva, rather than playing in an attacking way like he did against Chelsea, if you look at his heat map, I'd tell him to more sit next to Rodri and allow Alvarez that freedom in the attacking spaces. So it would be not much personnel change, only one, but the actual way that we set up would be completely different. My only sort of thing on that is, does Alvarez have the quality to unlock Liverpool's defense? Should they be really should Liverpool defend very well? That's the only sort of thing, because if that's what you could do, you could potentially play maybe Foden in there, Bernardo right wing, and then you could potentially bring in a Nunez who could probably do the same thing. And that's a little bit more, you don't really have those questions, but then you have the questions about Nunez, who's not started a big game for us yet. So I don't know. I personally wouldn't change anything other than Grealish for Doku, and then bring Doku on later on in the game.
I think Doku's essential to that left side. He's gonna pin Trent back. Trent, if you give Trent space in the midfield, I think Liverpool will be able to distribute the ball better. I think Doku provides that fear. Doku actually drags defenders out. I think Doku is essential. I hear your point about you're worried about the defensive aspect of Doku in comparison with Jack Grealish, but I think that's down to the midfield. That your winger should not be worried that much about the right wingers for the opposition. It should be worried about going forward, and I think Doku has been better going forward.
Bro, you can't say that. You can't say that about Mohamed Salah, bro. You cannot say that about Mohamed Salah. He's one of the best players in the world. You have to give him the respect, and you have to try and lock him off. But
that's why the midfield is there. You have Gvardiol on him. You got one of the defensive midfielders going on him as well. You got two covering him.
Yeah, listen,
that should be enough. I get what you're saying. You want to dribble on him. You don't want double. You don't want.
You're starting Jack Grealish.
No, it's not necessarily that I want a treble on him. It's that I want two players near him at all times. I don't want to really leave him isolated on a 1v1. So if you do what you say, and you only leave the left back, which is probably going to be Gvardiol, and let's just say, for example, it's Bernardo and two players, and Bernardo gets occupied with another player, then all of a sudden, because you're playing Doku, you've got Gvardiol isolated with Salah on a 1v1, and I want to try and isolate. I want to try and prevent that as much as possible. It's all about risks, right? Because in my system, I'm leaving Trent a little bit more space in the midfield, but I'm not locking off, but I'm doing the best I can to prevent Salah. Whereas you're maybe leaving a little bit more risk on Salah to prevent the midfield. So these are the decisions that Pep's got to make. But I personally would play Grealish in this game, and then like I say, I'd bring Doku on later on when maybe Tsimikas is tired. If he plays left back, don't know if he's going to play there, but if he does.
We don't know if Konate is injured, and I think actually Gomez is injured.
Konate was in training. He's
not injured. He's back.
Konate was in training today, so he should be fit.
Okay, so will you be afraid more of Doku or Grealish on that left side, Tom?
Doku terrifies me more because it's pace. But I would be honest, he would terrify me more if he was up against Tsimikas than up against Trent, because I would back. If Trent and Doku was to go one-on-one against each other, Doku wins more often than not. But I think it's like a 60-40, 70-30 split. I wouldn't back Tsimikas one-on-one to win a single battle against Doku. That side
him against Foden.
11 times. If Doku tries to dribble Trent 10 times, he will go past him 11 times. I think that's what it is. What are you talking about? What are you talking about here?
Trent's not awful.
I think Trent's
I'm serious. Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
being
I've
serious.
watched Trent. I've watched Trent this season lock up Matoma and give Matoma no
Oh
joy.
my God, every Liverpool fan with this notion, he locked up me. Oh my God.
You know
Bro,
what? Doku
Anthony Bro,
didn't do
you
much.
defended as a team against Mitoma, against Brighton. You did not defend one-on-one. Trent Alexander-Arnold one-on-one isn't great, and you gotta admit that.
Mo, if we defended as a team, how come the moment Trent Alexander-Arnold went off, Matoma started getting joy and then won the free kick that got them the equaliser? Before Trent came off, nothing. They were having no joy.
Gomez was rash as well. Gomez was
So-
very rash.
so-
Gomez was going on the tackles, even with doubling on him at that time. I remember the 2 free kicks that Gomez gave. One went on and one didn't. Don't do that. Is anybody here think that Trent Alexander-Arnold can lock Mitoma one-on-one? Can lock any winger in the league one-on-one?
Yeah,
Really?
he's not as bad as you're making him out to be, Mo. Like, obviously,
that
it's
bad.
not his strong point, but he can do a job in a game. Of course he can. I've seen Trent have good defensive games. Let's not act like he's the worst defender in the world. He's not. Obviously, his attributes going forward are fantastic, but he can do a job. And against Matoma, he was good. Let's have it right.
The matchup, everyone's focused on Trent versus Doku. I'm more focused on Van Dijk versus Erling Haaland. If Erling Haaland doesn't, if Van Dijk can do what Saliba and Craig Dawson did to him, Erling Haaland could have a bad night. And in that situation, City are going to need the rest of the guys to step up for the goals, because with Van Dijk basically taking him out of, he could take Erling Haaland out of the game single-handedly.
Van Dijk doesn't need to do what Saliba or Dawson done. Van Dijk just needs to be Van Dijk. He's played Haaland, I think, 4 times now and hasn't conceded to him.
I'm just talking about stopping them from scoring.
Yeah. Look, I think this is why I said Alvarez up front would scare me a little bit more, because the way Alvarez can play, he can drop into that space in front of the centre backs or behind the DM. Because we don't have a DM there, it would be asking an awful lot of McAllister to worry about Alvarez, as well as the potential runs from a Bernardo or a Foden, etc. Alvarez would then find a lot of space. He could draw players out, and then that obviously creates the runs inside. Haaland, for me, best finish in the league. If we give him enough chances, he will score. And by enough chances, I mean we might save one, but he'll score the second one. Alvarez might need a couple more. But I think Van Dijk and Canate, if that's the partnership to play together, can stop the ball getting to Haaland. And it forced Haaland to drop deep, and I don't think that's really his game, dropping deep and trying to bring it forwards there. So I understand the threat he carries, but I'm not necessarily stressing out about the Van Dijk versus Haaland matchup as I am other ones in this game, because there's other matchups which we just don't have the correct personnel for. Left back. Anyone who goes on the right wing is going to kill us.
There's some super chats I want to do here. This one here, we'll come back to that one. This one says all of our attackers got GA in the international break. McAllister was great versus Brazil. Our players are on a high on confidence. What of they care that momentum? Will they take that momentum to Sunday? Well, it's not Sunday. It's going to be on Saturday. I think, by the way, I said yesterday, by the way, I'm literally a day ahead in the week. I keep thinking it's Friday. It's not. It's Thursday. This is an interesting one about City. City aren't weaker. The league just got tougher. Arsenal fans here, big up your Arsenal fan here. Big up yourself, Terry, an Arsenal fan. Thank you. Yeah, I want to go on that question. Have City become weaker this year, or have more teams got better? Because I've seen a lot of people say it's City's regression that's made everybody else look better. Is that, I want to put it out to the panel, is that the case?
Well, can I answer first? Give it my
team. Of course can, bro. Yeah, of course can.
But I think our midfield has slightly regressed just because we've lost Ilkay Gundogan. But I think our defense is exactly the same as last year. Our attack, I think Doku is showing that we ain't really going to miss Mahrez that much either. So yeah, I just think we've lost a really, really good player. I mean, Gundogan was one of the most underrated players this country's seen, man. Probably one of the best German players this country's had. He could play in a variety of positions, but other than that, I'd say I think personally we've regressed slightly because of our midfield. But you got to realize we've regressed from the treble winners. Like, we ain't dropped down from an average team. We're one of the best teams this country's ever seen. So I think people are playing on that a little bit too much personally.
I think it's very hard to say the league's improved As a standard, the league I don't think has improved. If anything, you could argue the league's regressed in terms of quality because the promoted sides are awful. They are awful. And what I will say is the battle for all that's happened this year is Liverpool haven't dropped off the way they did last year. Now, whether you think that's because we've just improved all the leagues, dropped in quality further, you could argue. But last year, everyone expected us to be up there. But in terms of Tottenham, they've improved. Chelsea have improved from where they were last year. United have regressed. Newcastle have regressed. It's just balanced out. I don't think it's massively strengthened, massively become a tougher league now. If anything, I'd argue the league's gotten weaker because in terms of the overall quality, last year some of the teams that went down, Maddison got relegated last year. He's went straight into a top 6 side and be one of the best players in the league. Harvey Barnes could have went to Newcastle, a Champions League side, and was doing quite well for them until he got injured. I don't think any single top 6 fan would take any of Luton's players or any of Sheffield United's players. Certainly wouldn't touch any of Burnley's players either. So when you look at it in that way, the league's regressed because the overall quality is just not there.
And the Berg, maybe.
No.
There's
a reason why he moved from Sheffield United to Burnley.
The league has compressed, so I think any big team from the top 9 or top 10, if they go away to each other, when we see even City win to Chelsea, Liverpool win to Chelsea, I think it's going to be tough for any team. I think the league has compressed in terms of quality. Have they regressed, everybody? Probably. Even Manchester City, Matthias Nunez, Kovacic, even Gvardiol and Ake. I still think that Ake, with the experience that he has, was providing more. Gvardiol needs time to learn as well. I think Liverpool are the only team that I think have improved because they couldn't have been as awful as last year. Like they can't. You just can't. It's impossible. Arsenal have regressed. We've seen how they look. Manchester United. Everyone, in my opinion, but the league has compressed, so everybody's closer to each other now than last year. There was a big gap last year. Like Man City and Arsenal were miles ahead of everybody else last year. We knew that these two will finish top 2. Probably after 10 weeks, we knew that. I think now it's more compressed, in my opinion. Like I would look at Aston Villa actually at home. Aston Villa are doing on Man United were doing last year at home. They're beating everybody at home. Anybody that go to Aston Villa now would not fancy their chances to win. So that by itself is a big thing.
I think it's more competitive. It's not that teams have regressed. I think it's more competitive and there's more dogs in the race, simply put, because there's currently a 3-horse race at the top of the table almost. And then you look at Tottenham, they're not that far off also. So a lot of teams start off very well. And some of the teams like Aston Villa, what are they currently? 5th in the table? It's quite impressive how some of these teams are performing. So I would say the league has gotten more competitive, but that might mean it might not take as much points to win the league this season because you might have more teams taking points off each other later in the season. And to say that City regressed or Arsenal regressed or Liverpool have gotten better, it might look like that after 12 games, but give it another 10 games, we could be having a completely different story. So I don't think at this moment in time it's too early to say anybody's regressed or anybody's fallen off. I think teams can grow as the season goes on. And we've seen that with City over the years, and we've seen that with other teams.
It has been up and down, right? Look at even Spurs have been up and down. Look at Newcastle. At one point, people said Newcastle are definitely catching Spurs on top 4 when they were like winning games. And now look at the injuries. Look at Manchester. Manchester United are 4 points behind the top 4.
Mo, only 2 wins changes everything.
Yes. So I think there is no team that has been consistent. I think the only team that has been consistent, in my opinion, the only team is Liverpool that have been consistent this year.
Everyone at the top has been consistent. What are we talking
about? Even Man City. Can you say that Man City have been consistent?
What are you talking about?
Tottenham, Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool have all been consistent.
So Tottenham in the last 2 games, can you call that consistent?
No, because they got injuries.
Exactly, which is part of the equation. That's my point.
Wait. So how can you say Liverpool are consistent, but City, who have more points than them, are not? Arsenal, who are on the same level of points as them, are not? How is that possible?
City, when they lost Rodri for 2 games, they lost 2 games. Liverpool had not been amazing, and they have not been bad. Liverpool have been consistent. I'm not saying consistently great. I'm saying Liverpool have been more consistent. You have been, probably Arsenal have been consistent in terms of like, you're winning your games, you're not up and down. I think actually City, these 2 games, this period when they lost 3 games against Newcastle and the 2 league games, this is their down, and now they're back up again. We'll see what they do against it. That's my point. I haven't seen even Spurs now, 2 games on the bounce, right? You can say red cards, injuries. It's part of the game. But Spurs fans, they're going against Aston Villa worried. Am I not? Am I wrong here? They're going against Aston Villa worried. That means everybody has up and up. Man United at the moment, because they're playing the bottom teams, they are the team in form. That means it's up and down for majority of the teams.
Yeah,
Everybody.
Mo, even if we'd have been unbeaten at this point, Tottenham, I would still be going at Aston Villa worried, because Aston Villa are a good team.
You're not going away. You're playing at home. You're playing at home. I think
It
without
doesn't
the
matter.
injury, you would have been you would have been more confident. If you're at
No.
home without the
I
injury,
disagree.
you would not have been.
I agree with Kate. Yeah, we'd be Aston Villa a good team. You got to respect them, man. They're a good
Yeah,
team.
massively.
Any
There's
good
a
team.
difference between respect them and
Yeah.
actually going on the back foot. Like, you think
Nah.
you're favorites against Aston Villa in this game?
No,
No.
Don't
Okay.
know, but that what's I got to do? But you see, you said about being consistent. Other than Man
Yep.
City, every team's won 8 games. So how can you say that Tottenham haven't been consistent? Villa have been consistent. Spurs have been consistent. Arsenal, Liverpool, they've all won 8 games. So you would like to
I'll
say
tell you the
over a
difference.
12-game thing that is consistency, isn't it?
I just explained it to you. You just didn't want to hear it. The difference
No,
is Man
but it
City
doesn't
had the
make
dip.
sense though, because you've
No,
got
no. So
you've
I'm
got to
trying
look
to
at
explain it
over-
to you. You just don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
Man
but-
City had a dip at some point where 2 games in a row they lost. Liverpool hasn't had that. Liverpool
But you
have
look
been
at consistency
different.
over a period of time, though, Mo.
Yes.
That's what consistency means. So
So
Yeah,
Mo,
I
you agree
would-
all
with
these
me
teams
that
have won the
it's more
same amount of
competitive?
games. That's
Yeah,
consistency.
I would. Do you know what? It's been interesting listening to everybody speak about it. Look, I think that there has been some little dips with City in terms of the midfield. I agree, but overall, I think they're about the same standard they've been on and off for many years. I think some of the teams nearer the top have got better. I do agree that some of the promoted teams are worse than the teams that got relegated last year, but I think it's become a little bit more like how the Premier League used to be, where there's like a bottom 4 or 5 teams that are like whipping boys, and then there's a top sort of group of 4 or 5 teams that are actually really quite good. And I was looking, I know that some of the teams that are really good this year are not in the Champions League, but we used to have this in the Prem when it was the traditional top 4 and not the traditional top 6. Those top 4 teams were nearly always so far ahead of everybody else, and then there was often some really weak teams and then like a good middle. For a few years it's been a little bit like there's been the top 2 or 3 teams, and then it was sort of like the difference between some of the bottom teams and the teams in 5th and 6th, there wasn't a huge amount at times, and I think that we're just seeing the big teams kind of pulling up and moving away again. But I like it. I think it makes the Premier League more interesting in some ways. I know when anyone can beat anyone it does, but this I think this intensifies the way the top teams play against each other as well. We have another couple of super chats here before the end of the show. The first one says, Kate, you previously said Spurs have a better squad than Arsenal. Do you still feel the same way?
I've never ever said that. I'd like to know when he's heard me ever say that, because I've never said that ever.
I think it was Harry. You don't look like Harry.
was gonna say, no.
I think it was Harry that said that.
Definitely wasn't me.
Honestly, he says, what I meant was almost all the players had a great international break. They are on a high on confidence and momentum. What if we take that momentum against City? Liverpool got a chance. Of course, you've got a chance. You're Liverpool. You're one of the best teams in the country. You've had a very good start to the season, and you can go to the Etihad and win. But very few teams in the past 5 or 6 years have gone to the Etihad and win. So you're going to have to be. I think for Liverpool to win, when you cut it all up and you boil it down, Liverpool are going to have to be almost at their absolute best, and they've got to hope the City have a slight off day. That's literally it for me. But they've got a chance. They've got a chance. I want to thank everybody that has tuned into the show today. We didn't even get around to speaking about Tottenham. I'll be honest with you. Just 2 hours in. I do apologize about that. And I think the Spurs fans quite like that to a certain degree. I want to thank everybody that signed up to Golden Goals. If you want to play, as I say, it's free of charge. You're never going to have to pay anything. You don't have to deposit any money. £2 million up for grabs if you get all 6 score predictions this weekend correct. So you can challenge us. We can see who does the best as well. I want to thank Lewis. I want to thank Mo, Tom, Kate, Patty, and of course, Egal for coming onto the show. To all of my super chatters and everyone who's tuned in, always a massive amount of respect from me. I want to thank our title sponsors tonight, BetMGM, for helping us put this show together. But until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very